I mean, is there a silver lining at all, Clint? Is there is there like, I'm not looking for closure necessarily, but like, is there some hope for any of the issues that we've raised here today? HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Deer Grow.
Man, hard to believe, but Deer Grow has been the sponsor that's been there since the beginning of the HUNTR Podcast. Back in 2021, I think that they were the only partner that we had, but it's such a cornerstone brand and set of products for our food plot strategy throughout the year.
No doubt. And it seems like we used to have an off season, but not so much anymore. It's like when the hunting season ends, it really rolls right into food plot season, habitat projects, all of the above. And the Plot Start and Plot Boost have been there since the very beginning. That's a cornerstone for all of our plots. The Plot Start goes on at the beginning, Plot Boost goes on midway through. And since they came out with all of the fertilizers, that gets mixed in with the Plot Boost application as well. And I can't believe the results that we've been getting out of that.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Like I said, it's all the work now that really produces the results in the fall. So right now, anyone listening to the HUNTR Podcast can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, for 15% off any of the products at deergrow.com.
Better food plots, bigger deer.
And we're back.
Hey,
HUNTR Podcast.
Wait for the drop in there.
Yeah, it was a slight delay. HUNTR Podcast,
Hey-o.
episode 298. I did
one.
tell Nick, I was like, I think one of these sets I messed up the numbers, but we're getting deep in them, so.
Nobody noticed.
Yeah, probably not. They're like, yeah, nobody noticed.
It'd be fine.
298.
Cool. Hey, I'll thank you guys before we get going for being here, whether you're listening on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify or Apple Podcasts. See, because you met. So, all right.
All right. Clean it up.
Appreciate you guys being here. We drop these episodes every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern time. If you've written us on Instagram DM or the website, those are the two that we check the most frequently.
Mm-hmm.
We have some HUNTR merch on the website. You guys can check that out. A lot of you guys have bought that stuff leading up to, and now we're on the backside of Christmas, I believe. So
we are.
Appreciate you guys supporting us in that way. And for the, all season long here, you guys can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, on any of our partners' websites for a discount in some way, shape, or form. So other than that, here we go.
Okay, 2 mentions there. You mentioned Tuesday night. I don't know if this is either the last of the doubles or the first of the singles. I can't remember. It might be the first. This might be
all the singles to the dance floor.
Yeah, this might be the first of 2026 today, if I'm doing my math correctly.
Yep.
On top of the partner thing you mentioned, again, just briefly, if you guys aren't busy, January 9th and 10th, Indianapolis, we're going to be at the Archery and Bow Hunting Super Show, which was originally part of the ATA show. 2 days, open to the public. You can get your tickets early, or you can get your tickets at the door. A lot of our partners are going to be there, Lone Wolf, Predator, Pure Wildlife. So, yeah, if you guys don't have anything going on,
Or if you do, cancel those. Come hang out with us.
Come hang out with us.
Drink a beer.
Should be cool. Yeah, it'd be a cool few day event there, and also a pretty big archery shoot that has like a hunting division. So if you want to bring your bow and shoot, do it.
Check me out. Speaking of Christmas, Margie got me some new Nalgene's.
You have a lot of those. Is that because you keep peeing in them?
I don't know.
How often do those get recycled after urine touches them?
Oh, every time.
Oh, so you only you drink them, not with urine. You drink them with water, you pee in them, and then you dispose of them.
No, I don't throw them away.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
Just wash them.
How many times does urine touch them before you're like, oh, I don't know if I can wash this one again?
Oh, there's not a record. It's just you wash them. I don't have to tell you. You wash them.
Yeah, they're clean. Trust me.
Just give it a quick shake, with some Dawn.
Very sterile.
Yeah, some Dawn in there or something. That's a degreaser. You know that.
the Dawn, not the urine. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, both probably. But yeah. No. She got them because some just look old and super beat up. So that's Margie and I's thing too. We don't wait for Christmas.
Oh, really?
So I got a new pair of AirPods, which has been pretty sweet.
Critical.
Which I can take phone calls on. My old ones, for whatever reason, like they
I was
just
gonna say, what do you mean?
they just didn't sound good.
Oh, really?
It sounded terrible.
That's like all I talk through now.
Nobody could hear me, and so on these new ones, it's crystal,
Clutch.
crystal,
Yeah.
and I have the noise reduction, so I get some feedback, which was annoying about the first ones.
Oh yeah, dude, those are critical on airplane flights as well.
Yeah, she got me some socks, which I really wanted.
Nice.
Got me some underwear.
What you needed.
Got me some. She throws away my underwear more than I throw them away.
Yeah.
She's like, these have holes in them. I'm like, it's
So?
my favorite pair.
So,
So, and what did I got her? I got her a nice piece of jewelry. And she has all this, so it's all out on the table.
Yeah, it's already
we
out
already
on the
opened
table.
all these.
This is post Christmas, anyways.
I got her a new hot water heater.
Like a hot water tank for the house.
Yep, tank. We went from a 50 to an 85 gallon.
Oh, so she can take longer showers in the new bathroom.
That's right.
Yeah, or baths. Yeah.
That's right. And
You did get a tub in there, right?
No tub.
No tub, just shower.
Just shower. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I got her something else. I can't remember at this point, but
Hot water tank's a nice touch.
you know what?
You enjoy the perks of that as well.
Yeah.
Although you take cold showers, don't you?
Hot and cold. I start hot and then I end cold.
Mm-hmm.
I was investigating a 100-gallon tank.
Whoa.
And just because that seemed like, I was like, hey, let's just double it.
Yeah,
you
if
know?
we're going to go 85, what about 100?
$4,500 is what that would have been.
Wow, that's a big
and
one.
the 85-gallon tank was only $1,400. I
Mm.
was like, yeah, let's go 85.
Yeah, the discrepancy there doesn't make sense.
We can deal with that. Yeah, it was a big.
Hmm.
That was a no-brainer. But
Interesting. That's good.
yeah. So, anyways, Christmas is now we just do with the kids, and I got my. They won't listen to this, so I can say I got mom and dad an extendable Milwaukee pole saw.
Clutch.
The trick with mom and dad is I want to get them stuff that I'll use.
Yeah, so
also.
it's in the barn, and
And
you're
she
like, "Oh."
specifically requested it. She's like, I could really use a electric pole saw. I'm like, done.
Wow, done. Already got it.
And then I got dad some more Predator too, some early Predator.
Yeah, there you go. It's always good.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, we got a cool guest today.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about Ohio quite a bit, and obviously we've had Mike Tonkovich on previously. Tonk retired, and so Clint McCoy has now stepped in to the batter's box. And so we got Clint on today, which is cool. You know, here we are. We're filming this on whatever, the 18th. We're looking at the second rifle seasons this weekend there. And so we're at a time in the year where I think we've got a lot of data and understanding process, experience, observations, whatever. And still, you know, a little bit here ahead of us, but really kind of just framing up where Ohio is, what are some of the issues, what are some of the positives, and kind of where are things going.
We should set the baseline, and I should have done this for Clint ahead of time here too. So like, hopefully we
It'll be
can,
fine.
hopefully we can come to the conversation with. I mean, obviously, I don't want to erase everything that we know, but I want to be open to new ideas here and stuff too. So, and also, like, dude, it's hard not to get emotional about your home state, you know. So,
Sure.
so we definitely bring some bias and some preconceived notions and stuff here. And we've had conversations, like you said, with Tonk and also with Mike Rex and it probably, you know, even this morning we were talking to Madison Raber, who flies a lot of drones in Ohio, and on and on. You know what I mean? That's even
Hunter's
though
advocate of Ohio.
That's right. And so, funny enough, even though like I live in Pennsylvania, like dude, I don't even buy a hunting license here. Like I basically I would consider myself
an Ohio
not technically
transplant resident.
So they don't have to accept me, but like I consider that my home hunting state. You know, we do most of that there, and you own a farm there. And so that's we'll get to know Clinton here, I think, a little bit, and the real McCoy.
Yeah, hasn't heard that one before. I'm sure.
And I know. I have this thing where I have to say the thing that comes to my mind.
I get it.
Now that it's out, it can be done. So yeah, we'll just get to know Clint and welcome him to this new role. Share our ideas, thoughts, concerns, optimisms, pessimisms, and
it'll just be a really cool, open discussion across the board, and it's neat also that we come to Ohio with, you know, different views in that the area that you're in, farm country, higher population area I'm in,
Amish country.
timber country, you know, now was higher deer densities, somewhat lower now because of EHD and stuff. So a lot of moving pieces, and we just appreciate Clint spending some time with us. So let's bring him in.
Would you believe me if I told you this is the highlight of my week?
Wow, that we'd be honored. I mean, listen,
I'd be curious to know what you've heard.
It'd be the best way to soften us up at the beginning of this podcast for sure.
You already dipped into my motivations, man. You're quick.
Oh man. Well, I mean, so obviously this I think is airing on the 1st of January, so people can take that with a grain of salt. But we're filming this obviously the 18th of December. Like I said, we've got second gun season coming up here in Ohio this weekend. But just, a lot of moving parts for you at this time of year in your position.
There are quite a few. And it's tough because I guess my official title is Deer Program Administrator, but
as of recent, right?
As of recent, that is true. As of recent, it has changed slightly. But in that role, man, it's disease, and more disease-related stuff. And now, granted, 2 major deer diseases are part of that.
Yeah.
But also, you got high path avian influenza and all of those things. Especially here in Ohio, we have some pretty significant impacts to poultry flocks in parts of the state. So trying to keep up with that too. So it is a busy time of year, no doubt.
Clint, if you can start with, because we've had Tonk do this in the past and stuff, but so again, if you would just say the title and kind of what all that entails, and then if you want to share anything about your background in terms of how long you've been with the division, anything you want to give some context to yourself there would be helpful for us and listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm as of recently, as Jeremy alluded to, the Deer Program Administrator and for the Division of Wildlife here in Ohio. Previous to that, I came on to work for the division in, I think my official start date was like December 30th of 2013.
Okay.
So I got one day of 2013 before the new year rolled around there. So I've been here, that makes it 11 years, almost 12 years now. And I came on as the deer biologist. So prior to me, it was Tonk basically alone for a while, doing his thing, which he was very good at. And then felt like things were expanding, roles were increasing. So they had felt like they had a need for a deer biologist to focus on some of the more, nitty gritty deer stuff, data and surveys and whatnot. So that I served that role for, I'm still serving that role just with additional roles on top of it.
Classic.
But just a couple of, after Tonk retired in May, I've been pulling his duties as well, which were, again, more programmatic and kind of coordination type stuff with, particularly with disease sampling is a really heavy chunk of that one.
Mm-hmm.
With all wildlife disease and not just deer. So that's kind of my current role. I mean, it's deer A to Z, plus wildlife disease stuff and everything in between there. That's
a lot, man. I mean, especially when you start thinking about like the other disease aspect of things, I mean, deer in itself is, if most people listening to this are like, that's the lion's share of what a state has to deal with. It is and it isn't, but you tack on the other disease aspects of things that are non-deer, and that just creates a really diverse plate that you're trying to deal with.
Yeah, and I guess fortunate for me, it's just kind of coordination of disease stuff and not actually having to know the ins and outs of each of these diseases, because I have no formal training in wildlife disease really at all.
Yeah.
Other than my familiarity with, of course, the deer diseases.
Yeah.
So I kind of play a matchmaker when it comes to coordinating, getting samples sent where they need to go, and coordinating with other agencies that are helping monitor some of these things.
Yeah. So Clint, can you maybe zoom out a little bit further? Like, how many people are in? So obviously your role is within the Division of Wildlife. So how many I don't know, people are in the office, so to speak, or are involved with the deer programs and stuff? Are you leading a team? Is it just hey, there's you and one other guy that are that's it, or what does that look like?
I guess it's kind of relative to how. So we have 5 districts across the state,
Mm-hmm.
and while none of the folks that work in those districts are, officially members of the deer program per se,
Mhm.
they do the bulk of the work. I mean, they're the ones that are out getting the samples. They're the ones staffing deer processors during gun week and collecting age and sex and condition data. So they're kind of the biologists on the ground. I don't supervise them directly. I do provide kind of guidance and my wish list, I guess you could say, of what we would hope to get each year with regards to samples or data. But within kind of like as a deer team, it's me, myself, and I for right now.
Okay.
As far as anyone that's specifically dedicated to deer.
Okay. And it sounds like a bulk of your role is, at least right now, looking at disease too. Like, I mean, I can just tell by the tone in your voice. It's like that's a big thing on your plate.
Well, it is, and I don't know if it's a timing thing, and that's just the way that things turned out for when I took on kind of this coordinating role. I mean, because we have, HPAI is one of those things that it's kind of a fairly recent, and we started getting unnaturally, I guess it's not ordinary for us to be getting some of those mortality events as early as we were getting them this year. So we were getting some in like September, August. And so that was something that was a little bit out of the ordinary. And of course the major hemorrhagic disease outbreak, and then coordinating CWD sampling. So a lot of what I've done in the last 6 months really has been around some disease aspect.
Yeah.
But while still trying to keep up with what's the harvest look like? What are these counties? Which counties are up, down? What are we seeing as far as some of our trend indicators, and what are the surveys showing, that sort of thing.
Clint, I think just for the listeners too, from like a background on your side. So you graduated from Auburn, right?
That's right.
You're a Ditchkoff student?
Yep.
So
I was telling someone earlier, they said, who are you on a podcast with? I said, well, I know Jeremy Flynn. I said, we went to graduate school at the same time, though, at different schools. So we kind of, the name was certainly familiar. I don't know that we ever formally introduced ourselves to one another back at that time. But
I'm sure we came across, like I had a lot of meetings with Ditchkoff just over like the deer study groups and stuff. And it probably, I think you and Emily probably came across each other more when she was at Missouri for the private lands deer program coordinator. So yeah, I mean, I think that was probably the big thing. But so did your master's there. Where are you originally from?
North Carolina. Yep, just west of Asheville.
Okay.
In the mountains there.
Cool.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think, we've talked about it a lot on here. Like obviously we had Jace Elliott on here from Iowa not long ago, Auburn guy as well. And I say that because I don't want people, they did it with me too. It's like, oh, you're a Mississippi State grad, like you're from the South, like you're in the Midwest, like how do you understand? It's like there are not many schools that come with the what I call the heavyweight title of like deer management, deer ecology focused. The majority of those are in the South, right? If you go along and look at them, and somebody's gonna yell that I'll leave it off, but it's like it's like a Texas A&M Kingsville, it's a Mississippi State, it's an Auburn, it's a UGA, it's a UT Knoxville. So like if you go through those, like there are only so many, usually tied to a major professor who like that's their expertise and they're world renowned or at least nation renowned for that stuff. Those are like the breeding grounds for most of our state agency biologists, particularly in the deer world.
Yeah, and even recently, Kevin Wiskirkin, who was went to Missouri, came out of Auburn as well. So it's those are things that seem to hold here. Of course, Ditchkoff's about to retire, I think. So
I know.
I don't know what things are going to look like moving forward down there as far as deer work. I assume they'll continue it, given that they have that facility going, and
they'll find a good feed into that.
And I know Will Goldsby's down there too. So.
Yeah, I love Will. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
What about maybe a random one here? But while you're talking about like Deer Network guys, isn't Jeff Pretzel getting ready to retire from Wisconsin?
Wisconsin, it sure is. Yeah, I talked to him just the other day on a call, and yep, he's only got, I think. Well, I guess we're coming up on it, like
end of year, right?
Actually, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think when you look at that, Jeff was one who was very vocal in that, like, he took that role primarily around like a human resource side of things, like a survey, what's a hunter opinion, to try to do and compile a lot of that stuff. And like, I think he even said for ours, like, he, a bit of fish out of water on the like biology management aspect, but more on the human interaction aspect of things. And so I think he saw that as a position of like, hey, I'm here for a task to get this done, and obviously retiring thereafter. But it's kind of a weird spot for a lot of guys. And Clint, I won't make it super awkward for you, but when you come out of a school, and you, if you're lucky enough, first of all, to get a deer job at a state, which there aren't many of them, and you are lucky enough to find yourself into that, number one, odds are is you're in a more of an admin position than you are a field biologist position, right? Which, you're behind the desk, you're crunching numbers, you're working on guidelines and regulations and recommendations. If you look at like what's above you, and especially if you're like, I love deer, this is what I want to do, like there's not many stepping stones above you, if any, that keep you tied to, what you love, which is deer. Normally you keep going up in the admin cycle, and that in a way gets you further from what your passion was and what you wanted to do. So it's an interesting spot, because there's a lot of people that their entire career in essence will be in the same position, which is weird when you think about it from the job world, right? It's like, well, what do you mean? Like, this guy's not moved or gone up in rank in 25 years, and it's like they don't want to. Like, they don't want to leave this spot that they love deer and deer management of the state and everything about it. They don't want to just become the next chief of wildlife or whatever it is of the next level, because it just becomes more and more admin and less about what they loved when they got into it. So
I couldn't have said it better. Well done. And that's given my recent step, this may be my last step.
Yeah. Well, it's a weird thing.
Because of just what you said.
Yeah.
Just what you said.
Yeah. It's a really weird thing. But, I think the biggest thing for us, Clint, and we've had, like I said, we had Jason. We've talked to a lot of different biologists from all across the country. And, the one thing that we've really tried to work on is just opening up chain of communication with the state biologist, right? The goal of like any of the podcasts that we have with them is understanding where they're coming from, what the internal thoughts are. And, it's not by necessarily a decision, but it is built by like a purpose that most agencies are a bit closed off to the public for good reason. You're one dude. If you opened yourself up to being like, hey, here's my phone number, call me if you got any problems with Ohio. Oh, holy cow, dude, you'd be burned down, right? Like it's there's these pieces, and I think that a lot of people are doing better than historical successors, I would even say, have. And that's probably just the nature of like who we are as like our age and our generation of what we've, experienced with internet and podcast and whatever else. Yeah. But sure. It still is really tough because, ultimately it's like, if the average Ohio deer hunter looks and they say, okay, Clint's the deer biologist, he's making all these decisions, he's why my season sucks.
Heard that before.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like it's a hard spot to be in when you start to think about it that way. But for maybe it's not 90%, but I'll use 90% of average deer hunters. Like that's the thought process. Like here.
Well, I'll just ask you, Clint, is that fair?
Depends on what they mean. Depends on what portion of the regulation or portion of their season sucked and what made it so bad.
Okay.
In most cases, well, I'll just say that I am not a decision maker.
Right.
By any stretch of the imagination.
By nature or by employment?
By employment.
Okay.
I do not make decisions for our agency.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I make recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
I provide data, recommendations that are based on data, but I share ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But I do not make any decisions.
In your organization, is that primarily the Wildlife Council, I guess?
The Wildlife Council approves regulations, or doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
They vote. They do not come up with any regulations, but they are the approving
yay or
board.
nay.
They either say yay or nay to
Gotcha.
any regulations that are proposed.
Okay. So who's the middle layer there?
That would be upper administration within the agency.
Gotcha.
Upper administration within the agency is who takes your recommendations and proposes changes?
To the Wildlife Council, yes.
Okay. So is that like one or two individuals, or who is that?
Well, above me, so I'm, as of recent, a program administrator, but above me within the wildlife side is the executive wildlife management administrator.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's an
Who's
assistant
that?
chief. The executive administrator is Mike Reynolds.
Okay.
And then above Mike Reynolds, there is an assistant chief.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is the chief of the Division of Wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's a female, right?
It is. Yep. Kendra Wecker.
Kendra Wecker.
And
That's right.
Kendra. Yep. Who recently accepted to be like sit on AFWA's board, which is pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
What is it? A sit on what board?
Something with AFWA.
What's that?
The Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies.
Yeah. So the whole Fish and Wildlife agencies, if they're all part of like a single organization.
Like at a federal level.
Yes, but for the states.
What do you mean for the states?
Like as a group. Think of like what I talk about, like our Southeast Deer Study Group. Yeah. That's like different,
Oh, okay. So she's going to sit on a board member for that. Okay.
Yeah. Something. Board member may be the wrong term. So
yeah, whatever.
We know what you mean
on that. But anyway. So then you have the chief of the Division of Wildlife, and then you have department level administration.
Okay. So
then you have like a assistant director and a director of the Department of Natural Resources. So, there's layers above me within the division, but then there's layers within the department above that.
Okay. So when you take information and make recommendations, it's at a table with 5 people, 2 or 3 of which you mentioned, and 2 others.
It's not at a table. It's I send them up, and then I hear what decisions are made based on that later at a later date.
Did those the people above the chief of wildlife, are they involved in that stuff going to the Wildlife Council? Like, I guess what I'm saying is, does it have to go above her before it goes to the Wildlife Council, being that that's DNR versus Division of Wildlife?
Legally, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like as far as like the actual
pathway.
The actual pathway. I don't know that it. I mean, I think maybe we could present a proposal that hasn't been seen by the department level folks, but that's not going to fly. Very well. I mean, that would I assume would be a mistake.
Yeah.
Especially if it was something that was
big.
attention grabbing.
Yeah, big.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Hoyt.
Should be no surprise to anyone listening to this that back with Hoyt another season. I'm actually going to be shooting the AX2 aluminum this year.
You traitor.
But you're still going RX9.
Yeah, blacked out as always.
Blacked out. Big surprise for everyone.
80 pounds. Big surprise. Yeah.
But seriously, man, I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Every year, it seems like we get a new Hoyt bow in our hands, and they're always a step above the last and just a step above everybody else.
Yeah, they're so consistent, man. Just their processes get better, every year. And we've really been excited about, as we've grown with Hoyt, we've brought some others in with us. And we just feel like the Hoyt family is growing, like the community, and we're really excited about the people that are involved, excited to be a part of that company. And it's really awesome.
So for anyone that's excited about Hoyt, like Jared and I are, you can use the code HUNTR, HUNTR, on Hoyt.com.
Get serious, get Hoyt. Clint, on what grounds do you think they're inclined to accept your suggestion and like propose a change? Like, is it where does that come from?
On what ground? So
yeah, I mean,
rephrase that for me.
Yeah, so generally, like whether it's from you, and maybe it's you haven't been through it enough, or maybe you have, or maybe Tonk used to do this. But
can we use an example just to maybe clean it up?
If you want.
Yeah, so like,
do you have one in mind? Fine.
Yeah, I do. So obviously, just recently, like big EHD outbreak.
Yeah.
Right. You guys changed a bunch of multiple deer counties to one deer counties as of December 1st, I think. Yep. I assume that had to go through chain of command, right? Big change?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that work
Yeah,
for an
fair
example?
enough. So where did that come from? Did you look at that and say, biologically, all the deer are dead, so we shouldn't shoot anymore, probably? You proposed that? You sent that up, and then they said, yeah, that's a good idea?
No, that came the other direction.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
It came from the top down.
It was, if you read the rule, actually, part of the rule is actually states, obviously the first part to address a kind of, I forget the words that are used exactly, but to address a monumental hemorrhagic or, first of its kind scene, hemorrhagic disease outbreak. And then the second part, which we've never done before that I know of in any rule that's been made or suggested, is and to address constituent concerns.
So the public.
Yeah. So
interesting.
I didn't have a problem with making some of the changes per se, but it wasn't the problem with it coming from me is we don't necessarily have the data.
No. At
that time of the year, right? So this is a time of year where you're not going to survey deer populations because you have leaf cover and anything like that. So everyone's asking, well, what's the mortality rate? I have no idea.
No idea.
At that time, we can look at public reports.
Right.
We can,
which has some X factor. We have no idea.
Exactly. Now it's that again, and we can get into that a little bit more later if you want. But for us, it's a relative scale.
Sure.
We had way more reports than we've ever had before.
Yep.
Likely because there were way more deer dead than we've ever had before. But as far as the data to make any specific recommendation on, and we don't have a process in place that allows us to make regulation changes like that.
Right.
So that's the whole reason that the changes that were made didn't go in place until like 2-3 months later, is because there's a set process within the law that requires these certain steps to be made before any sort of rule comes into effect. So there was several layers there that kind of prevents that motion, that whole thing starting at my level.
Got it.
If that makes sense.
No, and I mean, I think that's a really good example, though, of because, the number one thing that any state biologist, I assume, hears is like, you don't listen to the hunters, right? You don't listen to the people. That I would assume that's got to be up at the top 2 or 3 of complaints. And so, like, that seems like it clearly, not 100%, but clearly was very heavily weighted to hunters and people said, a lot of deer are dying. We need to change something here. And it came top down.
Yeah, I mean that's something that we've never done. I mean it's unprecedented.
Right.
The Division of Wildlife has never made a mid-season deer regulation change.
Wow.
So the Division of Wildlife is responsive in situations that might that they need to be, I guess.
It seems like, and I guess I'll try not to ask you to like give opinions on it, but like it seems like it shouldn't be that hard. Like, right? It's like, it's like
multiple stakeholders. That's your problem. Is like if you're only appeasing the hunters, period. Then
is that what it is? I mean, it's like, okay, let's go check with all these other stakeholders and see if we can get away with this, or.
Well, I mean, to be fair, there were stakeholders on the other side of that said we had way too many deer before this happened.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
this was a good thing. There's no reason for you to make changes because we had way too many deer before.
Okay.
So, I mean, while it may seem like a no-brainer for certain regulations at certain times, there's always, it never fails that there are going to be opposing voices from the other side of things.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say again, and ultimately, I didn't have a problem with it either, but there definitely were farms that were not affected by EHD that were in the counties that they needed to kill does. And
absolutely.
And effectively, if they killed one, they're done. No more.
Yeah, so if you remember, Jeremy, the original proposal went in as 2 deer.
Yep.
As dropping the limit from 3 to 2.
Yep.
Which would have,
I think it would have covered it. Yeah.
It would have covered it, right? And it would have allowed those folks to be able to shoot a doe and still have a tag left for a buck.
Mm-hmm.
And then during the comment period, after the proposal was put forth, the overwhelming response, and it was more comments on a deer rule than we've ever had.
I bet.
Overwhelmingly were more restriction is needed than what was proposed. And while I disagree as a biologist that more restriction was needed, because if you look at the harvest as a 3 deer county up until December 1, the harvest was trending in a way that would suggest people were not shooting deer anyway.
Right.
No matter what the bag limit was going to be.
Right.
But a bag limit of 1 makes people feel more comfortable about we're not going to overharvest what's left.
Yeah.
And so, given what, there were people saying we should close the season completely.
Oh, there were a lot of calls for that in Washington and Athens and Meigs. I mean, a lot.
Yeah. And I get that because it is, you see a bunch of dead deer on the landscape like that, it can be jarring.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so I get that. But when you're looking at it from a perspective of when we're looking at the harvest the way that it goes, we probably could have not saved any more deer by going where we did, because when you think about it, you can't kill deer where they don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If it wipes them out, it doesn't matter what the bag limit is. You can't.
They're not there. Yeah.
Yeah. And participation. Once deer populations drop to a certain level, people know that, understand that. They're not wasting their time going.
They're not going out.
When over the last 2 decades, they've been able to go out and see multiple deer every time they're going to sit in a deer stand. They're not going out to sit and see nothing for days on end. So hunter participation has been lacking because deer populations were thinned by a good margin. And so I think the bag limit is a feel good kind of thing.
Sure.
Like it doesn't necessarily protect any more deer. And I don't know, we can go all the way down this rabbit hole as far as you want to.
We like doing that.
So those counties that were impacted the most, those are our leading counties for landowner harvest. So 50% of the antlerless deer that are killed in those counties, roughly 50% of the antlerless deer killed in those counties are killed by landowners.
Interesting.
So the biggest impact to herd recovery, as you and I'm sure most of your listeners understand, is controlling the level of antlerless harvest.
Right.
And given that such a large chunk of that antlerless harvest, it comes from landowners, it only makes sense that the hunters are and the landowners, the ones that are most in tune with what's happening on the landscape, they can choose to whether to shoot an antlerless deer or not.
And I assume most of them, as a landowner, you walk out, let's say you got 50 acres, walk out, you find 10 deer dead, right? Odds are you're probably not going to go out and blast those, would be my guess.
Right. And we had people show, and that's the thing, is these people that show up and they say, well, I'm not shooting any antlerless deer this year. So that's great. I mean, if you're not comfortable shooting any antlerless deer, that you decide on your property what is best for you. I'm not here to say bag limit's 3, you better shoot 3. No, that's not how that works. It's 3 is the upper limit, or was, as a way for to give folks flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I mean, that's when it comes down to it, the management occurs with this, right, with your trigger finger.
Yep.
And that now we provide the bounds to prevent over harvest and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, it really does come down to a hunter's decision is the ultimate. That's the ultimate form of management is pulling the trigger or releasing an arrow.
So clearly in those counties, I mean, I looked at it, I don't know, the other day from a harvest comparison to whatever the 3-year average, those 3, Meigs, Athens, Washington, the bottom of the barrel, whatever.
Yep.
Far down, Morgan was half or so of what it was.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any plans of I guess, how do you intend to monitor in preparation for next year, I guess? Is there
right.
What's that look like? Is it more individual feedback? Hey, here it is in September of next year and I'm seeing deer again, or is it more specific than that?
We have we just purchased a fairly expensive piece of equipment to put on our aircraft. We bought a FLIR to put on our aircraft. So
okay, now we're talking.
So we have plans to implement that and do some surveys across the region and
that.
Just to put some like I said before, we couldn't. It was hard for me to propose changes.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the season, because that's not a time that you can survey deer.
No,
I mean, it's just really not,
and
or with any sort of reliability. But yeah, so that the plan is to get some actual data in hand to see what the real impact was and is, and that we can monitor it. I mean, that's the important thing. It's one thing to have a kind of this monumental event that happens, and then you say, "Oh crap, all these deer died and harvest went down."
Mm-hmm.
We know harvest is eventually going to come back.
Yep.
But I think this is not a one and done thing. This is going to happen again somewhere else.
For sure.
And it's in our interest to not to contribute just to our, selfishly our knowledge as an agency and what's happening within our state, but to the larger scientific community to see, okay, here's this major hemorrhagic disease outbreak. Here's what the population looked like at ground zero, year 1, and then here's that process over the next 5-10 years and what happened.
Yep.
To deer densities and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And along those lines, I mean, you just never want to waste an opportunity.
No,
right?
man.
I mean,
can't go backwards.
So this is not the opportunity we wished for, right?
Right.
We didn't wish for monumental, first of its kind type hemorrhagic disease event here, but we can take advantage of it and utilize some of the things that we know we can prepare better, or at least know how to communicate expectations anytime this happens. And so this year we collected or have been collecting blood samples from deer in that area to get an idea of exposure rates and looking for antibodies to hemorrhagic disease that may give us some clues as to what proportion of the population was actually infected
Right.
and ultimately survived.
Yep.
To give us some clues as to, what does the future hold with hemorrhagic disease in this part of the world where, up until now, it's just been, it can be fairly devastating given low immunity.
Yeah. Well, I think you guys did a really good job. Your presentation that you did a couple months ago that had, I forget what you went back to, 2017 or 18 or whatever it was, and just showing the Ohio map from the reports, and you could see like there's, certain areas where it's like, yeah, every 2, 3, 4 years, like there it is again, there it is again, there it is again. Other areas just, not nearly as much. Obviously, this year being like you said, unprecedented essentially, and what it was. So that trend side of thing I think is extremely important. I would hope that people listening to this, especially if they're in that area, hearing that you guys are going to do kind of the FLIR surveys and stuff. I mean, that's awesome, because there are a lot of people that I think are completely deflated in that they're like, yeah, they're all dead. It's going to be years and years and years till it rebounds, which, if you're talking about mature bucks or something, yeah, it takes 5 years to grow a mature buck. Like, I get that.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think that they'll probably also be surprised about what's on the landscape still and how it's distributed. Maybe, again, it's a single time look at right now. At least it's like, hey, they're going to be closer to food or thermal cover or whatever it might be, right? They're not just all over the landscape, but at least from what they're going to see on those county-wide. Like, I have plenty of people that are writing me in some of those hardest hit counties that are on the river, which is seem like it got smoked, that are like, I didn't find any deer, and I still see 30 deer a night in my soybean field.
Yep.
They're there.
I've heard the same.
The same. You were going to say something.
And that, even when it is widespread like it was this year, I mean, this was atypical because of the intensity spread over a fairly large area, right? But even then, there still seemed to be some pockets within what we would have thought would have been ground zero,
right,
for where it didn't seem to be impacted too terribly much. So it will be interesting to see how some of those surveys play out and to get some real data to give us a start.
How does that work, Clint? What's that? I've heard of FLIR. That's a brand of like thermal imaging, right? Like
super high end.
You're talking about attaching that to a piece of aircraft, or what's that process look like? Yeah,
so it's Westcam is a company that they're basically the same type of unit that would go on like our highway patrol helicopters and aircraft use these.
Okay.
And so when we're done here, I want you to go online and look up Westcam and L3. So there's a couple different names there. L3 Harris is one of the names. I don't know. One is a parent company of the other.
Okay.
Anyways, if you go on there and look at their high-end IR capability, it's impressive.
Okay.
I mean, we tested some with Highway Patrol's unit last year, and it was, what time of year? It was late summer, and so bucks were still in velvet, right?
Yep.
So but they were almost fully formed, and I mean, we were seeing, because and these high tech IRs, they provide all of the information on screen. So it gives you like a GPS location. It gives you like the distance to whatever it is that your cursor is pointing at, on the screen or whatever. We're looking at these bucks like a mile and a half away, and you can see like every point on the rack. I mean, it's super cool, super cool. Now, of course, we wouldn't use it for that purpose in our surveys, but
you're looking purely at like numbers and densities, etc. in the survey.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and you connect it to like an airplane, not like a helicopter?
We will be connecting it to our helicopter.
Okay.
Or it actually is currently being attached to our helicopter. It's actually getting installed as we speak. The reason for that was, so we have a helicopter and we have a fixed wing plane.
Okay.
Our helicopter is brand new. It was replaced, the one that we'd had for many years. our airplane was getting ready to get cycled through, and so we didn't want to put it on our airplane just to have to take it right back off.
Okay.
So yes, it's going on the helicopter. That will dictate a little bit about how the methodology of the surveys go, because just of the way that the differences between flying a helicopter versus flying a plane.
Okay.
But,
well, and there's just one unit and one helicopter then that you guys are planning on using for survey?
Yeah, just one.
Okay. Is it better than like just a thermal drone?
Is it better? It has less of there's trade-offs. I know that Indiana is utilizing thermal drone operators in some of their deer density estimation stuff, which is really cool. And that's something that we may explore moving forward. But for us to get the data in the areas that we want to have the data from, it's more efficient for us to go with an aircraft that we are controlling and can put on the transects that we want to put them on. There's so many restrictions with drones, with staying within eyesight of, or whatever those different regulations are with regard to the distance that you can basically fly those things without battery life and all of those kind of limitations that would kind of restrict our focus when we're doing these surveys to fairly small footprints. We're with a helicopter, so that we can get a little bit larger footprint.
Okay. What would you expect or hope for? You're like, hey, I want to go out and survey. How big of an area can you do with that helicopter, like efficiently?
So we can do, so we've never used IR to do this, right? So in the past, our deer surveys were done visual surveys over fresh snow.
Okay.
So we're flying a helicopter, 50 to 60 knots at 200 feet AGL and basically just tally mark, got a little clicker counting deer out the sides, one person on each side of the aircraft, looking out the sides of the aircraft.
Okay.
And we could survey, we would do like 2 by 5 mile grids essentially across, and we would kind of distribute those across townships. And we were doing, maybe 4 townships a day with that method with a helicopter.
It's a lot of ground.
Our efficiency will increase quite substantially with a fixed wing aircraft. Of course, those will look different, right? Those are going to be longer linear transects versus what a helicopter. We're basically counting the deer that are in that area, and then sort of extrapolating that based on habitat characteristics of that specific area we counted. We can extrapolate that kind of across the neighboring landscape.
Sure. I would assume the degree of accuracy with your IR technology is much higher, or you would hope so?
Man, I would hope so. But I got discouraged actually after talking to, I forgot his name, your elk guy in PA.
Oh, David? Not Stainbrook?
No, it must have been.
But David's, I guess, the head of both deer and elk, not just the elk.
Our elk guy? I don't know.
Shoot. Anyway, I guess, sorry.
No, you're good.
Listening.
He's got it. He's probably not.
They have the radio collared elk, right?
Yep.
In PA. And so they would fly these, of course, they're flying them with these units on a fixed wing aircraft across their entire elk range. They got these radio marked elk, so they can tell where elk are at the time of these surveys. So he went through a little presentation with us when we were looking at purchasing and seeing what we're going to do for surveys moving forward. And they only got like 60% detection.
No way
on those elk.
Damn.
And now it could be, there's all these factors that are involved.
Sure.
They were flying fixed wing with the camera pointed out the back, basically pointed. So they're flying this way. The camera's looking behind them, and they're basically scanning it like a ladder.
Yep.
to cover as much area as they can. And they were contracting this out with a company from out west.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so when you think about it like that, you're flying, and there's in the topography where those elk are in PA, you're flying over a ridge. And if you've got the thing pointed out, if a deer or an elk was standing on that facing ridge, you're just never going to see it.
Yep.
With a helicopter, I would assume our detectability will be much higher, given we're flying slower. We're flying more or less looking straight down.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. Well, it's something we'll have to play with. I was hoping to have a winter to develop protocol for this thing before we actually started flying like surveys for real.
But you kind of got to lay that baseline down now.
Well, it's interesting too. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty it's just opinions. I mean, I guess there's no way to prove it. The collar, that'd be the way. It's like, hey, we know these elk are here, or whatever the species, and whether you can find them or not. But like, we've talked to quite a few of those drone operators, one of them this morning, and like this is the opinion, they all feel that it's highly accurate. And based on, surveying properties that are, most of the deer are known. You know what I mean? I would tend to agree. Like 60 sounds low to me. Like,
yeah,
it's not 100.
Well, I think what we've seen, so I did it on my place in Meigs County, right before gun season. And then I did it in Kentucky as well. And I would say Meigs wasn't as much of a challenge as Kentucky was, but there were for sure bucks that were there that we did not see on the drone. I think a lot of that's more behavioral based of like what those deer were doing. Some of these were like, I think, bedding in rock shelter areas because we had some snow come in. I think the does and fawns were very visible, just behavior based. It was odd in Meigs in a few places where like I'm sure there were some deer that showed up on camera a day or two later that like were around, and I don't know why we didn't get them. Maybe they're just coming from further than I thought because populations were low with EHD. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I think it's all relative to scale, right? I mean, so if you're flying a drone over, I don't know, 200 acres.
Yeah.
You can cover every inch of that, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, basically, and be fairly confident that what you saw is what's there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When you're flying over hundreds of square miles,
yeah, different ball game.
It's a different level of scale. It's more about efficiency and estimation rather than actually physically counting every animal.
Yeah, you're not doing a complete census of the area. It's literally an estimation of densities in those areas.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. Well, it's cool to know that you guys are, using the technology that's available. It's like, we've always thought that. We're like, yeah, why aren't these states doing drone surveys? Like, it seems like a no-brainer. Like, it does make sense that it's not perfect, and maybe certain times of the year are tougher than others. But it's like, wouldn't you want to know?
There's certain cases where you do want to know. I guess that's what I would say. If everything stays vanilla, and trend indices and probably talked a lot about how deer management works kind of at a general scale last time he was on, but there are certain cases where we do want to know how many deer are on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Those are very few. This time with hemorrhagic disease, that's a good example of where it'd be a good idea to get a survey.
Yeah, we want to know
to see what we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
When we're dealing with, back when we were doing some targeted removals in CWD area, it was a good idea to know how many deer we had on the landscape.
Yep.
To be able to measure any effectiveness or impact to the population as a result of increased hunting opportunities or some targeted shooting. So there's very specific instances where counting deer can be important.
Mm-hmm.
But when everything is vanilla, those trend indices tell us pretty much everything we need to know for the larger management scale type things that are going to require any sort of regulation adjustments.
So when you say that, Clint, you mean like nothing's changed, harvest seemed the same, hasn't been any disease reported. Like, sure, you could go out and fly those for a density, but unless it's like more detailed, like you're going in and looking for buck to doe ratio or like actual age structure of bucks. Like there's no reason to just fly density areas for density areas.
Right. And how do you choose where you fly is the other thing, right? I mean, so if we're talking drone operators, like we have 88 counties in Ohio, and each county is a management unit. It has been that way for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty monumental effort to get enough survey data from every county every year to make any sort of density estimation, right? So it's part of it is practicality, part of it's efficiency, part of it is comes down to like a need to know versus neat to know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, because I mean, I would assume like let's stick on the EHD areas, right? Like. Clearly, right now, most people are going to be like, no, low deer, no deer, whatever that is. So fly that this winter as a baseline, right? Fly it next winter as a comparison, essentially. And at some point, and again, at a local level, they can do it if they want, is like, I want to know buck to doe ratio. I want to know, potentially what an age structure in this 2,000 acres looks like or whatever. But from your standpoint on a statewide level, it's like, where's the density now after this unprecedented hemorrhagic outbreak? Where are we in effectively next winter versus this winter, and so on and so forth.
And then the winter after that, the winter after that for several years. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Predator Camo.
Man, this one feels good, right? I know people have been looking at this picture over your shoulder for a while now. I think that was 2018, but we just, over the last, how many years, keep coming back to Predator Camo because it's been so damn good for us.
No doubt. I think we bought our first set off of Jen at the Archer Trade Show almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And Jen's still with the company, and the patterns have, only improved since then. They actually were recently acquired within the past couple of years. We've had a chance this past year to go and meet with new ownership, talk about redesigning a lot of the old lines, plans for new patterns, all of the above. So really excited about what's to come, not only this coming year, but in years to come. There's a lot of good stuff coming from Predator.
Yeah, and I mean, for us, it's always been going back to that breakup pattern, right? That's the historic look, whether you're talking about the spring greens or brown deceptions or fall grays. Yeah. I mean, that breakup is really what's been so powerful for us in a tree stand. And right now, they're letting anyone use the code HUNTR on the Predator Camo website and get 20% off any of the lines, including all the new stuff that dropped here in July.
Be the Predator. What are your thoughts, Clint, if any, on using that technology for like less of a quantitative standpoint and more of a qualitative standpoint? So if let's say the discrepancy was, hey, we don't have any big bucks here, would you guys foresee using that technology to like confirm or deny that and consider making changes based on that?
Not that specific instance. I don't think so. I mean, I guess it depends on how widespread that thought was. I mean, that's not. We're killing more 3.5+ year old deer now than we ever have in the history of the state. We have some data, whether that's the data that someone's looking for or not in that instance that's up for debate. But we're not going to be using. I guess my point would be that we're not going to use that. Or at least my plans are not to use that technology to like just placate and find answers to random questions, really. Yeah. But if it's a wide and we get an idea of like what issues there are, what issues come to mind. We get a really fair idea of what keeping the temperature of our hunters across the state based on we do annual surveys, and so I feel like we have a fairly good check on the main issues that might require attention.
Really,
but that one you spoke of don't.
So what are they, Clint? What are the main issues that you think are?
Oh man.
Walked right into it, dude.
I did. I should have known better.
No, that's just how it goes.
I completed one of those surveys. Did you get mine?
Probably. I can look you up.
Yeah.
So there's a couple. In no particular order.
Okay.
Non-residents.
Yeah, that's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
And you guys just raised, as a non-resident, you raised license prices this past year. It cost me $400+ or something. Actually, I bought it before.
I think it's,
it went up.
If you buy a hunting license and one either sex deer permit, it's $399
Yep.
change
Versus $270 and change, I think, is what it used to be, or something like that. So that's
and before
that's a
that
big bump.
it was it's made that price tag has gone up significantly since I started a decade ago.
Mm-hmm. So and I've had plenty of conversations, we'll say, with residents of Ohio who express their displeasure, and non-residents, and whether they want to, most of them I'd say want some sort of a draw, right? I get it.
Can we tease it out a little bit? Why do we think that is? So if I assume it's coming from residents, that would make sense. So residents are displeased with the amount of non-residents that are coming to Ohio to hunt. Why do you think that is? Is it because, hey, they're hunting in places that I used to hunt? Is it there aren't as many deer? Is it, hey, the quality of deer is not as good because they're, why is it?
I think I'd say most of the comments are tied to access.
Yep.
Okay.
Non-resident, because if I looked at the data, just looking at the number of non-resident permits that are sold,
mm-hmm.
or the number of unique, so that wouldn't be the number of unique non-residents there are that come to the state. So that's not total permits sold, but that's number of hunters.
Okay.
That has fluctuated between 35,000 and 40,000 since I've been here.
Okay.
So for 10 years, and then even going further back than that, so 15 years, we've been between 35 and 40,000.
Okay.
Non-resident hunters.
Is that like 10% of the total hunters? Less than 10% of the total hunters?
It is 40 divided by like 280.
Okay, so it's more than that. It's like a quarter. Plus, well, no,
but that's not including landowners either.
Right. Well, that's what I was gonna say. My beef is on a lot of that is like, they're paying for the license and the resident landowner is not.
Wait here. Finish that thought though. So there's 35 to 40 non-resident.
40,000 non-resident hunters.
How many resident hunters?
Unique permit buyers is right around between 280 and 290.
Okay.
But that doesn't include,
not including landowners, which you said earlier in some counties is as much as 50%.
Of
so
the
it could
harvest.
be double that.
Of the harvest.
Of the harvest, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So do we have any idea? Do we know?
The number of landowners?
Yeah. No idea.
We could do back of the napkin calculations and,
no way.
And look at success rates and kind of.
Well, wait a minute. Isn't there? They have to report deer still, right?
They do. They do report they're required to check their deer when they harvest. So we know which landowners are successable.
Okay.
If they're reporting
but we don't know how many are. Provided they're reporting them.
Ballpark.
But we don't.
Ballpark on that. Ballpark on that, or average over 10 years. How many unique successful landowners there are per year?
Oh, unique successful landowners. So they account for about 28% of the harvest total.
So just do it.
We're in the neighborhood of probably 50,000.
Okay.
Unique.
50,000, you said?
I think so, somewhere in that neighborhood. I'd have don't quote me on that, but I'd have to go check. But somewhere in that neighborhood.
Too late. It's on the record.
I see your back of the napkin there. I see how you could walk it back.
What was our total harvest last year? Or ballpark? Where were we at?
238.
238. So if it's like 28%, so that's like 66,000 landowners.
Okay,
potentially.
There you go. So double the amount of landowners as there are non-residents, and then in between you'd have resident non-landowners in about 285, 290.
Sounds right.
Right?
Yeah.
So
somewhere in there.
So total of Jeremy, math on it. You do 30
almost
plus
400,000.
60, 90 is 400,000. You guys, so 400,000 hunters, which I think we confirmed earlier. That's ballpark. What you got?
I've seen that back of the napkin number in places.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whether it's accurate or not.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say between 300,000 and 400,000 would be.
Yep.
Would be you would be in the ballpark.
All right. So you got like 365 or 375,000 residents in Ohio that are not happy that there's
basically 10% of the hunters are non-residents, which is where I got that number.
All right. So then
I guess we could have got there a lot quicker.
No, it's okay.
I know they're about 13% of our
Perfect.
permits. Yeah. So
there you go.
They're about 13% of our permits.
That would make sense.
Cool.
Then.
I like the long way sometimes.
Yeah.
It's fun. All right. So we got,
I didn't know where the end was. So
there's the end.
sorry.
We got it.
Well, and now I'll bring it back around. So you got a vast majority of
Ohio
residents who are unhappy that non-residents are occupying it. In your opinion, access is a problem for them.
That seems to be the fact that the fact that they're leasing.
Yep.
And this is their mind. So this is not. We don't have data.
I don't think that they're wrong.
Yeah. So the fact that non-residents lease property
buy property
that they used to hunt or now don't have the opportunity to, that seems to be probably the number one thing tied to non-residents is an access issue.
Where are you hearing that from, Clint? Is that from surveys? Is that just in talking to constituents, or where's that coming from?
All of the above. Yeah. So it'd be pretty much populations in most parts of the state are not in a position to be folks to be unhappy with them if they like lots of deer.
Yep.
So that's not going to be a complaint that I hear very much right now.
I'm sorry.
I actually would like to hear that complaint more often from other parts of the state. That means we're doing a better job at managing the deer herd.
Could you say it one more time? I missed that last part. What's not a complaint that you're hearing? Is that we don't have enough deer?
Not enough deer. So that
so nobody's saying, "Hey, there's not enough deer. You guys suck."
Yeah. Well, but you know why that is, right? Because your non-residents are not coming to shoot does.
That's part of it.
I mean, that's a big part. We're coming to shoot bucks.
I mean, I'm sure there's a data point out there, right, of like how many does are non-residents killing. It can't be much.
It's not.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Not. So it's 10. I think it was, and those count at the So this came up with the hemorrhagic disease, right?
Yep.
Was like, one of the things you got to do is lower the bag limit. The other thing is you can't let non-residents come shoot any deer, antlerless deer. So we did, we look at that, and it was about 10% of the annual antlerless harvest.
So nothing.
Is by non-residents.
Yeah, and they shot that on the last day before they went home. Yeah.
So I mean, most of our non-residents are coming from places where they can get plenty of venison.
Yep. They're not worried about that.
They're coming from.
They're coming to kill a buck. Yep. Okay.
Gotcha. Cool. What's another gripe or issue that you see there? So
can we pause on that? Sorry, I'm rabbit holing a bit. So what I think is interesting there, Clint, is you said essentially for the last 15 years, give or take, that number of non-residents has not changed. Like we haven't flooded Ohio with more people, and I would, it's subjective, right? But I would say that non-residents are occupying via lease and or purchase more ground.
I think the distribution is different. I think you're right, Jeremy. And I might be able to access data that would show that.
I guess my question is why, right? Because like if it's the same amount of people coming in and residents now all of a sudden feel like they're getting kicked out of their hunting areas, why?
My gut would say that the distribution of non-resident hunters has changed from largely public land to now more like they came to Ohio, pretty cool state to get a chance at a
come into
buck.
Like Wayne National Forest and just hunt.
And then you get, if you come multiple years, maybe you get feelers out, you find something, or you look for something specifically, or you find somebody you kind of meet at the local coffee shop or whatever, and then start making some inroads, and eventually some of that public pressure, or public, non-resident gets kind of dispersed into some of the neighboring.
Or I'm coming there enough. What does it look like for me to buy my own piece type of thing?
Right.
That makes sense.
So that's just a hypothesis. I have no data.
I think it sounds good. Because I look at Ohio as you guys are, I would assume, fairly consistent from a regulation standpoint in the last 10 plus years, right? It's not like you've made, obviously from Pennsylvania, it's like, okay, well, crossbows became legalized. Now Sunday hunting is legalized. Like there's been some major changes in this state over the last 10, 15 years that I'm like, I couldn't point to a single thing because of that. Your side has been pretty consistent from a regulation standpoint. It's not like you've made any huge, swooping changes in the last 10 years to affect non-residents occupying.
No, there hasn't been anything like that would impact them, other than the incremental price, fairly large incremental price increases that have happened a couple of times in my career.
Yeah.
Of course, that's, I don't know how if you guys know this, or if your listeners, so that is something that goes through the budget bill within the legislature. So that's actually outside of the agency's authority, I guess you would say. We don't set the prices for that. That comes from the legislature.
My guess is you don't see a statistical change in the number of non-residents next year at $400.
I'd say it'll be lower, but I don't know how much lower.
Yeah. I'll be interested to see if that actually...
If you do, we would speculate that Sunday hunting in Pennsylvania has something to do with it also.
I think that's a big one. I think a lot of guys fled this state, just on a weekend or whatever, or we have gaps between our seasons even to come hunt Ohio, because it's like, well, I'll hunt PA on Saturday, but I'll come hunt Ohio on Sunday. Well, now we can hunt Sundays, and barring anything changing, that'll be completely legalized through the entire season next year. I bet you start to see a decrease in Pennsylvania guys coming in.
Interesting.
Hypothesis. Again, no data to support it, but
I would add to your comment too, before we get too far away from it. It's a no, but Ohio has for a long time, I would say, not necessarily in a negative sense, been like one of the more liberal states in terms of, like, correct me if I'm wrong, Clint, you could always hunt with a crossbow. You could always bait. You could always, the season is like
always loosely. Like at some point, it probably was introduced, but in the last 20 years. And the seasons are like one of the longest in existence, and you can hunt Sundays. So it's like, Ohio has always kind of been like a friggin' go do whatever you want. Like, one of the more liberal seasons. You know what I mean?
You think you say that, and it's just got my wheels turning. Like, and to think we kill as many big bucks as we do every single year with
it is kind of amazing, honestly.
11 million people and very, what you would say liberalized regulations. That's pretty. It's
cool. Pretty wild. Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. It's the, I guess from our side, Clint, is and I'm glad that you guys are surveying them and you're hearing from your residents, because ultimately that's the people that should be taken care of from a state for their resource. They own the resource, it's the people's resource. We constantly are swirling this toilet of trying to nail down the access issue, right? In that, what is driving, again, not an increase in non-resident people, but for sure an increase in occupying land in Ohio, thus displacing residents. And it's not just Ohio, it's pick a state, and it basically is happening.
Yeah.
And so we just keep swirling this thing of like, what is it? I think a lot of times Jared and I, and again, subjective, but we nail down, we call it insulation, right? In a liberal state like Ohio, where you have corn piles and crossbows and anything that, we just mentioned, I want to insulate myself from the competing hunters around me, right? So the more land I have leased and or owned, the more control I have, the more insulation I have. Yeah. Makes sense to a point, right? I've seen, just in the short time I've been there, massive increases in land call it acquisition or holding from outfitters in Ohio, leasing. I think a big part of that is cell cameras and corn piles. We can talk about both of those, but in conjunction, purely monitoring to the point of like what we just talked about with 10% of the antlerless harvest being attributed to non-residents. I'd say most non-residents have a piece of ground they've leased or owned. They are monitoring it with cell cameras remotely, maybe over corn piles, and they're planning their attack of coming in to kill a buck and to leave. And whether that's 40 acres or 400 acres, there's probably a substantial deer herd there that is not being managed population-wise appropriately because of that.
Absolutely. That, as a biologist, as the person responsible for trying to keep a handle on this deer herd, that's my biggest concern.
Yeah,
is the basically these hundreds, if not thousands, of artificial refugia.
That's what it is.
That are created for antlerless deer. It doesn't matter if we, and I don't want to sound negative.
No, but you're right. Go for it.
But at some level, at some of these places, it doesn't matter what regulations the state. It doesn't matter what recommendation I have for.
Tell me I can kill 10 does. They're not going to do it.
Exactly. So that's a struggle, and that's a concern that I have, is that as time goes along, if the trends kind of continue this direction with, largely a focus on antlers, very little demand for venison, really, in the grand scheme of things, maintaining a handle on the deer herd is becoming an incremental challenge.
I would agree.
And so obviously, he's not the deer biologist anymore, but I know Sumner still has his hands heavily involved, and any Missouri people listening just like cringe when I say his name, but that's fine. Jason and I know each other well. Those Jason guys, have a similar issue, right? Don't have the baiting necessarily, but have an antlerless issue. Jason said openly on the podcast, like the discussion of bounties on antlerless deer has come up. And this isn't directed to him or to the state. That's a sick discussion, in my opinion, because it continues to devalue antlerless deer, which is already where we're at, right? Nobody values an antlerless deer anymore. And I say nobody loosely. Like, sure, there are. Like, I love to kill does and eat backstraps. Great. But in general, nobody values an antlerless. A bounty puts it even lower on the totem pole.
It's the same thing as free tag, even a free tag, like that, a free antlerless tag. Well, what kind of value does that deer not have value? I mean, I find myself between a rock and a hard place a lot of times when it comes to things like that, just because of what you said, Jeremy. That's an excellent point.
You got to figure out how to incentivize people, which, as much as I was on the fence and maybe even against it at first, the more and more we keep talking about it, and it's a dirty word, I keep coming back. I'm like, what about earn a buck? Like, dude, everybody wants to shoot a buck. What they want is to kill a buck. What they need to do as hunters' responsibility is to control the antlerless population. So if you want to kill a buck, you don't need to. It's not required. Like, there's nothing. Kill a doe first. That's your job. That's your job as a conservationist, is manage the population. Kill a doe first, then you can kill a buck. The more I know, it's not that easy per what we just talked about of the
Clint, as a biologist, you're not allowed to disagree. So,
as a biologist, I can't.
It's a weird thing, man, because all the Wisconsin guys will tell me and I'm not saying that anybody figured it out perfect, but if we're getting to the point where we're having to devalue antlerless deer by putting bounties on their head, or we've got these fake refugees that can't do it.
I don't think there's a lack of demand for venison. There's just an inability to access them.
Good point.
Yeah, dude, you're you know what I mean, non-resident, but whatever, anybody who is like striving for quality, or they're wanting to shoot a buck, they have the control over those herds. And so if they're not allowing other people like to hunt and stuff, then those does and those deer in general are not going to get shot.
Yep.
So like the root of your antlerless population getting away from us problem is the fact that those properties can't be accessed. So like
That's one of the problems. I think I'll hold the line on saying that we're kind of at a point where supply exceeds demand. Really,
100%. Yeah, we're there. I would agree.
I think we're there. At least again, this is so hard to talk about as a statewide responsibility.
I know, man. We're not trying to put you on the spot either. Like we're just
no, I know you're not.
No,
I
he's just saying from statewide standpoint.
Yeah, because we're at right now. I mean, we're almost a state of extremes. Like we have one extreme in Southeast Ohio where we got a pretty low deer population, but we've got other places of the state where we've been setting records in counties for many years in a row where populations are just exploding. So that would be more the norm than the populations are too low kind of thing. So that's kind of where I'm coming from here is that last year we set a record success rate. 50% of people that bought a permit killed a deer. And I would venture to say that a large portion of those that didn't was because the right deer didn't show up.
Sure, it wasn't by opportunity.
Correct. And our successful hunter averages 1.4 deer in the bag. So even when we had essentially unlimited bag limits, I think a bag limit was at one point 18 deer. It's now been reduced to 6. We killed the average successful hunter killed the exact same number of deer with 18 deer in the bag as he did with 6 deer in the bag as he did with 3 deer in the bag. I mean, it's really comes down to you're only going to kill as many, in most cases, only going to kill as many deer as you're going to eat, which is, that's responsible. It's not wasteful. One of the things that we're trying to do is provide more outlets for venison. And it's slowly getting some traction, I think, with trying to set up some donation type stuff, but trying to increase demand or make it less difficult to kill an additional deer without fear of it going to waste.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I read a lot of these stories that come across, but your penitentiary system is processing deer right now.
That's right. Yeah, we partnered with Ohio Penal Industries.
Freaking awesome.
They have it is cool. And I hope like heck that it can grow and expand. Right now it's really focused because we have limited infrastructure right now with access to freezer trailers and that sort of thing and logistics as far as getting deer tested and then before they can be distributed and all that sort of thing. But yeah, no, it's awesome where we're taking in deer from donations and trucking them down to just south of Columbus there.
Yep.
There's a prison facility that has a working, I would call it state of the art. I mean, pretty awesome facility for butchering. It used to be part of the farm system. So the prison system used to have working farms on some of these prison grounds. And so this one specific one in Pickaway County was the processing facility for the farms across the state, essentially. So they've been, I think the farming thing kind of went out a couple of years ago. So they've been kind of basically looking for work, I guess. And
that's huge. Because we talked about it and we're like, no matter what we do, no matter what we coordinate, even from funds, it's like there's still a limited number of processors and place to do it. And I think we've even talked about like, man, it'd be, I know it's complicated, but like a statewide system in some way or fashion to take them in and to process them would be the way to do it. I never thought about prisons, but that obviously is an awesome opportunity there.
Yeah, no, it's one. It worked out really well for us this year, and this is our first year partnering with them to try to work out some of the logistics that kind of go into all of that. But hopefully it can expand. It's a lot of work we don't have anyone like dedicated to this particular project. There are some states. Michigan has a guy that
coordinator for it.
Yep. Which is all, and we've been talking with them quite a bit on how to maybe expand and talk about freezer trailers and trucks and everything, about how we might be able to utilize them for things outside of the hunting season.
Yeah. Because I would say that's a big limiting factor. Not the only thing. Again, I think the predominant thing is people want to shoot bucks, but like, even in my own place in Ohio, especially not being able to take the carcass back to Pennsylvania to process, right? I basically have to process it before I come over state lines. Is I probably would, shot more does on that property had I just been able to drop them off and roll type of thing.
Mm-hmm. And we've partnered with FHFH, Farmers and Hunters Feeding the Hungry.
Yep.
We've partnered with them for, I guess, since my career began here. But it seems like, knowing which processors are actually part of the program, and they kind of go blink in and blink out, and so that it's just less widely known where those donation processors actually exist.
Mm-hmm.
We've tried to make it a little easier with we have an online dashboard that kind of shows where all the processors are and whether they're a donation FHFH processor, but there's still some general lack of knowledge about where I can go to drop off a deer.
Right.
I think.
Interesting.
So we're trying to bridge some of those gaps.
I think that's cool. We got off a little bit there, but okay. So non-residents and likely access is a big reported survey. Hey, this is a problem. What else is a problem for the residents?
I think I should let you guys guess.
Oh,
a problem for the residents?
For the residents, yeah.
I won't say it's a problem. I'd say a divisive issue.
Oh, interesting. We've
mentioned it a couple of times already.
Would it be crossbows in the archery season?
That would be one of them. That wasn't the one I was thinking of, but that would be one of them. Yeah,
okay.
That's less of an issue, I think, because so many people are doing that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like 70% of your archery harvest.
Everyone's doing it. Must be fine, right?
Jared said he's doing it next year.
Everyone's doing it. I don't know.
My son did it this year, and it was awesome.
Yeah, my kids did too. So yeah,
awesome. Yeah,
okay, what were you gonna guess?
Corn piles.
Yeah,
baiting.
Yeah.
So what's the because that has been, I will say, is a burning question from Jared and I to understand is,
interesting.
What do the residents of Ohio think or feel about baiting?
HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Bushnell.
Man, what an iconic brand. I mean, I vividly remember growing up, it seemed like every serious deer hunter had a Bushnell pair of binoculars or Bushnell rifle scope. You knew that those guys were serious about what they were about to go with if they were packing the Bushnell stuff.
No doubt, man. I remember bone collector guys and so many others that we've respected over the years. It's always been like your grandpa's rifle scope. And since then, obviously, they've developed so many great products. We're rocking the R series of binoculars this year. I believe it's the R5, 10x42s. Those have been awesome. We took those to TAC a couple weeks ago, along with the broadhead rangefinder. It's got a ton of technology packed into it for angles and and for bow hunters ultimately. So that's been awesome.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things, we've talked about this with a lot of the brands we're working for, is we want high quality gear that's affordable, and that's exactly what Bushnell's trying to position here. They want to make really good gear that anyone that's serious about deer hunting can afford. And so most of those R5 series binos that we're talking about are under $300 for unbelievable glass.
No doubt. And so for right now, you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, to get a discount on the Bushnell website. That's bushnell.com. All right. So, okay, Clint, you said that, and we guessed correctly. Corn piles are, you said, a problem for. And to clarify, you said the residents of Ohio
Well, that was what we were asking, is the residents of Ohio, how do they feel about baiting? And that's where we left it.
It was residents, to clarify, not just landowners, though.
Correct. It's resident deer hunters.
Okay. Resident deer hunters, that's what we want to know. How do they feel about baiting?
It's so incredibly split. I mean, it really is. There has been, so when I first started, it was roughly, I'll say like 65-35, like baiting should continue, right? I mean, it's like, there's been a slow shift, I think, towards it's not anywhere near making a decision on, right?
Right.
It's not like but there's been like the last couple of years, man, it's just been email after email from hunters that are like, we've got to like get a handle on it. It's a competition essentially.
That's what it is.
And it's people, and really a lot of them are people that do bait, and they're like, man, I can't continue to afford to try to outbait my neighbor essentially to hold deer.
That is literally the summary of deer hunting in Ohio. It's like he with the biggest corn pile and most consistent will draw the deer.
Yeah. So it's incredibly divisive. The one thing that I had prepared for you was based on a survey question we asked just a couple of years ago with basically the acceptability of certain CWD management options.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things, we listed, number one, take no action. So CWD shows up, do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Eliminate baiting and feeding was one option. Utilize professionals to sharpshoot deer.
Mm-hmm.
Increase harvest. Basically liberalize harvest regulations. Those sorts of things, right? Suite of things that you might do to respond to chronic wasting disease. Implement carcass restrictions, so you're not taking carcasses outside of the disease zone. The number one most disliked option was take no action. Okay, so it was clear to us that CWD shows up, hunters want us to respond in some way.
It's kind of surprising.
It is surprising.
Yeah.
I would have thought they'd respond if there was a paragraph section and say, why are you asking me about this? This is like the fifth thing on the list of things I'm concerned about.
Yeah. And maybe that would be the case, 3 years later after we did that survey. But that's the first legit option, most disliked legit option for handling chronic wasting disease was the eliminate baiting and feeding. Okay. So it is the lightning rod to when we have a detection and expand our disease surveillance area. I won't say the only thing, that's not fair. The thing that garners the most interest and concern is the no longer being allowed to bait.
Right.
And so it's a loud voice, and it's becoming louder on the let's get rid of it thing, on the get side of things. But it's still, anytime you mention baiting, it comes with some pretty staunch responses.
Sure.
And part of it too, and I have to think that this plays a role, is people are so used to being able to shoot a deer out their back door. That's
figure of speech, but we get
figure of speech. But essentially, you own 5 acres. You can put a corn pile out behind the house and be able to shoot a deer.
Yep.
And they're not wrong that likely without that they won't kill a deer off that 5 acres.
Exactly. And so that is one of the things that I hear frequently is, well, if you got rid of baiting, I probably wouldn't be able to shoot a deer on this small acreage property. Okay. That affects that person for sure.
Yep.
But as a biologist, man, this is hard to. The other thing I hear is, well, if you take away baiting, I thought you said we needed to kill deer, right?
I love that one.
Yeah, we actually have several years worth of data now in our DSA counties, where DSA counties, disease surveillance area counties, you can't bait or feed. I guess you could, but you'd be breaking the law.
Yep.
So for all intents and purposes, let's say that we don't have baiting in the DSA.
Yep.
The harvest did not decline. The harvest has continued to
Go
go
figure.
up.
Go figure.
We have added some opportunity. We had an early farm season, but
Yep.
the harvest is consistent with the growth that we would be expecting simply as a result of what the population is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so rather than killing them with a bow over corn, they're a lot of that harvest is moving
To the gun.
just moved to farm seasons.
Yep.
Essentially.
Makes sense.
So we're, at least in that part of the state, it doesn't appear that taking baiting off the table reduced harvest in any way. In fact, the harvest is, like I said,
Continues to increase. Yep.
Well, and that seemed like the threat of like, you take away baiting, I'll quit hunting type of thing. And like, I think that's an empty threat. For some, maybe, like if you're only hunting the 2 acres behind your house, yeah, you're probably going to go relatively unsuccessful. Maybe every once in a while you catch one, but very, very unlikely.
I actually had, Jeremy, I have some more data for you.
Okay. Hit me.
I said I was prepared. We actually asked a question on that same survey that I just mentioned with the chronic wasting disease. So this was to all the hunters that currently use bait. So we throughout the survey, depending on the questions you asked, you kind of get chopped off into.
You might say you baited them into the next one.
And so
I hate you.
Hunters that use bait. Oh, you like that?
You guys are old.
Sorry. just throwing dad jokes around. It's all right.
That's good. Well, hunters that use bait, we asked them the likelihood that you would quit hunting if baiting was no longer allowed.
Right.
And so we essentially asked that. Move back up. We started it out with, if baiting was no longer allowed, how would it change blank?
Gotcha.
And so one of the blanks was, how would it change the likelihood of you hunting? And the likelihood that you would quit hunting. So we only had 15%, surprisingly, I think, of hunters that currently use bait said that they would quit hunting.
I think that's a great supporting piece of data to have.
Well, and at least 50% of those people I would call bullshit on.
Probably, yeah, because they're not gonna quit.
They're doing it as a threat to you. They're like, don't
It's an empty.
you dare get rid of it because we want it.
Interesting. Well, I mean,
wait,
it's
does
weird,
he have more?
man.
Are you gonna?
Yeah, I was gonna say that it's not really any different, and I don't understand this, but like hunters that don't use bait, we said, what was the likelihood that you would quit hunting if baiting was no longer allowed? And it was basically the same percentage.
Same 15%. They're like, oh,
like
yeah, I quit.
Yeah, like, okay.
Interesting.
I don't know how to really interpret that, but I think it goes to show you that for folks that might say that, that's not that is not going to be a widespread.
Well, check this out, dude. You might find this interesting. When we had Mike Rex on, we asked him why not get rid of baiting. And his number one, by far and away, response was, everybody will quit hunting. We'll lose a huge number of the hunters. To which we, disagreed, and I think your data does as well, frankly. Granted, 15% is not a small number, so I mean, it's not nothing.
Sure.
But
and I think it's a legit fear that you might lose some hunters as a result of it.
I would think that you would.
I don't know that it would.
I also, subjective, I also think you would gain a substantial amount of access back.
Yeah. Well, check this out, dude. I think Jeremy and I feel that corn piles, first and foremost, but in cahoots with, cell cameras, the way that they're able to be, used to selectively target, an age class of bucks, for instance, is the number one reason, probably, aligned with access and all these other things, that you have an overpopulation of does. Like, ties back to my they're not able to be accessed comment, is like, dude, you have guys, non-residents may be the number one culprit, but everybody that wants to shoot a big buck is dumping a corn pile, running a cell camera on it, and waiting for the buck they want to show up. And guess what they're not doing in the meantime? They're not shooting does.
They're not hunting, period.
They're not hunting, period, and they're not letting other people come shoot does.
Yeah.
It's like, it's your number one culprit for propping up. And I thought, I find it so interesting that on one hand, we're like, well, we need corn piles so people can continue to shoot deer. But, guess what? We're not killing enough, and you're slowly losing hunters.
You're not killing the right ones
in
either.
the meantime, you're not killing the right ones. So what if we made it harder for guys to selectively target bucks and open up more access for guys just to hunt deer? I think you'd kill more does.
Instead of hunting a deer, we're hunting deer again.
Deer.
Yeah.
That's the way it used to be.
Yeah, I think it definitely, and it's not picking on them, but I know a lot of outfitters that are locking up thousands of acres, not because they're effectively, hunting it, they're just monitoring it, right? It's like corn piles and cell cameras all over it, waiting. If there's a good opportunity, they place a client. If you take one and or both of those away, like there's no way they're going to spend the money to lease thousands of acres of land that they cannot effectively monitor.
No. Let me ask you this, Clint. Can you make a biological argument to endorse corn piles? Like in any way, shape, or form? Them? Yeah, I mean, is there any biological argument to say, yeah, corn piles are, there's a favorable outcome?
Not based on anything that I have now.
Okay. Is that a recommendation that's been made to the state in the past, or is it something that... Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've already gone through how they get accepted, and I understand, it's not you're not a decision maker in this case here, but
yeah,
it's a rhetorical question. Obviously, biologically, there's you can't make an argument for corn piles. It's
I guess for us, I think it seems logical, obviously the three of us, but we're not none of us are decision makers, right? There's only a certain set of decision makers.
I'm a decision maker, but nobody's put me in the place to make a change.
You don't have any authority.
I have no authority.
so we need
your personality is a decision maker.
Yeah, that's right.
We need a decision maker with authority. So hypothetically, there's a handful of people, right, in the admin level, wildlife council level, wherever you want to look. There's a handful of people up there that have authority and decision making power. It would seem to me that, I would say at least one of them understands that baiting is not long-term a good thing for the state of Ohio. Okay. Unpopular opinion, regardless of what our surveys say, still very unpopular opinion. I would assume it's going to take, and I've said this before, somebody's going to have to fall on the sword in order for it to happen, meaning they may get it pushed through, but they're probably sacrificing themselves to loss of job, loss of seat position, loss of whatever they have, power, in order for it to happen. That's my gut, at least.
That's possible, but they could also be falling on the sword for short-term change, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
we see that. We've seen that recently with legislative changes in several Midwestern states regarding baiting, and even the legality of the agency to ban baiting in CWD areas. Right. So it's
meaning it would be wasted effort essentially. Like it would just get overturned not far down the road.
It would get It's one of those things, and I can't speak to the future, so I don't know how
You're
things
not
would
wrong,
play
though.
out in Ohio, but I do know what I've seen happen in other states with this path to baiting versus no baiting, and how it quickly gets out of the hands of the wildlife agency and into into legislation.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that that's how things would turn out here. But
that does seem to be the problem, Clint. Jeremy and I have often said there needs to be an adult in the room, and in this case, it's you guys. You're the biologists. You guys can see the consequences of the regulations that are imposed. And so on one hand, you guys might say hey, biologically we can't make a strong argument for this. From a regulation standpoint, we feel like this, along with some other things, is causing these issues. So therefore, we would make this recommendation. And it goes through or whatever, and then just a bunch of people shout really loud and say well, we want it. That's our right. It's private land, and
then it comes back.
And it's okay, well, what kind of vicious cycle are we in here? What is the point of the ODNR at that point if you're not able to enforce change, or any state game agency?
Yeah, I almost look at it, and this is not necessarily supporting this, of course, but. Clearly the disease surveillance areas, it is illegal to do. I assume that's some sort of Division of Wildlife statute or legislative statute of like, hey, if we expand.
That's a Division of Wildlife rule.
Division of Wildlife rule. So if by chance the disease surveillance area expands, it will eliminate baiting in that area. And that's a rule in place that nobody's fallen on a sword necessarily for.
Yeah, right.
Which is kind of, I mean, I've said it for years, not in like I hope it happens, but in a just reality world of to what Clint said of like, hey, it could, somebody could fall on the sword and it could regress, is like, I think CWD is how baiting goes away in a lot of states, including Ohio.
Yeah.
Well, dude, let's just.
I've had folks tell me that.
Yeah.
I just think that's what it is, because it's set up as a rule that's in place, that was supported, that was passed, and it's. I mean, people will absolutely argue, loud voices will come through on it, yada yada yada. But at the end of the day, like, that is the most likely pathway. I see.
Well, dude, let's try to remove ourselves here from like data and stuff. Like, I'm just thinking like just my experience. I'll share some opinions here. Like, I guess it's a little encouraging to hear that people are writing into you guys to say that they are not happy with baiting, like in its current, like, just the fact that it's happening, and the way they're expressing it to the agency, it sounds like, is they're like, hey, we're feeling like we're having to compete. Like, I can't dump enough corn to compete with my neighbor, and it's just kind of a he who has the biggest corn pile, aka there's a wealth factor tied in there too. That's who wins.
It's probably tied into non-residents too. They're bringing a lot of money.
It definitely
to the table,
and so just. The like, I think what you're hearing there is like the experience is a negative one. And not to be too pessimistic, because like obviously we're grateful for all the opportunities that we have and stuff, and it could be way worse. But it's like, I mean, dude, at least me and my friend groups and landowners that I talk to, people in my parents' church in Ohio and stuff, it's like they are residents of Ohio. My parents are. Like it's not good. Like which is interesting to contrast, like on one hand we might say, well, we're killing more bigger deer than ever before. And that may be true. I don't have the stats to argue that. But what I see and hear, and like everybody that we talk to and even feedback on the podcast, is like, dude, the experience of hunting in Ohio is like a very vacant shell of like what it used to be. And it's largely tied to corn pile, number one. And then all the other technologies probably fall behind it. The cell cameras have obviously changed a lot. The crossbows have compared to what they were 10 years ago, it's like a totally different weapon. And we're just in a very different environment. And dude, we feel that to the point where, I mean, dude, like, Jeremy and I are buying farms in Illinois, which is like, on one, like, it's stupid. Like, why would we do that? Like, my family's in Ohio. It's like, dude, it's Ohio. It's like big buck state. But on the other hand, I'm like, literally have money to spend, and I would never go to Ohio. Like, why? Like, you can't own enough acres. Like, literally, dude, my family owns almost 1,000 acres in eastern central Ohio, and we just cannot get the deer hunting experience that we want. Like, I'm almost like to the point where we're trying to talk my dad into selling a good part of it and just going to a different state. And it's not to say that there aren't people who would fill our shoes immediately. I know there are. I mean, they would be happy to have what we have there. So it's not from a place of discontent, but it's just out of it's almost just shame. Like, I know it could be so much better with some of those regulation changes, and corn piles being at the very, very top for sure.
Well, you're not alone in some of those feelings, Jared. I can tell you that for sure. And it is becoming a bit louder voice, like I said before, that and I don't know what the tipping point was necessarily. So this has been within the last probably 2 to 3 years where it's all of a sudden you start hearing like, this is too much. This is getting to be too much. This competition factor is
well, dude, the DNR is not solely to blame. Like, there's definitely an industry component of it. Like,
huge.
Yeah. So, like, we'll take some credit here. The demand for big bucks is probably higher now than it ever has been. And so whether that's driving out of state pressure, it's driving, people to do things on their, piece of land or whatever, it's just the reality is guys want to shoot bucks and big bucks and as many as they can. And we have as many tools as we've ever had to be able to do it across multiple states and from states away and whatever. And dude, we're doing it. Like guys are just like,
they're efficient.
They're efficient, and they're also like, what's sad about it is we're seeing, like you've always heard, like it's a rich man's, it's becoming a rich man's sport. It's like, I don't know if any of us could have foreseen this being the route that it's happening. It's because we've got more opportunity than we've ever had. I can use cell camera. I can deploy 100 cell cameras across 10,000 acres if I want to. I can buy, literally tons of corn and have a drone go drop them off, or I can just fill them up on the drive-through thing on the way there. I can put box blinds on it. Whatever it is, it's like it really is. If you extrapolate it out and pair it with the demand, it's like, dude, guys with the most time, money, and desire for big bucks are the ones that are going to do it, and they can displace a shit ton of people. Guys that would otherwise be helping us to manage the resource.
Yeah, that would be happy to shoot deer.
Deer.
And so Jeremy and I have been for 5 years now on this podcast, like screaming to be like, this is going in the wrong direction. Like we have to regulate some of these things that are allowing us to do that. I'm all for guys shooting big bucks and using every resource at their disposal to do it, but it's the state's responsibility to restrict us, frankly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear that. I don't know if there's, maybe you touched on it, but another thing, it doesn't personally affect me or my job per se, but one of the other realities of the situation is the economical side of this thing.
Sure.
Like imagine if you couldn't sell cracked corn in Ohio, like that would be a huge deficit to some of these places that rely on corn.
Yeah.
For this specific purpose. So I don't know what, I can't put a measure on that that would be economically, but I know that that's certainly got to be a piece of it. In the one of many pieces, of course, but yeah. I mean, I think we can agree with the state of things and the biological significance or insignificance of these things, but.
Well, and I just wonder, Clint, like, you don't have to speak for your superiors and stuff, but like, is that felt? Like, I think you can hear my tone here. Like, I'm really worried about, as a large landowner, or at least my family is. It's like we're concerned. I was like, do they sense that?
I don't know, Jared. I don't know that they do to that degree of sincerity, the way that you just kind of laid it out there. The interesting link to access is a possible
trigger point or something.
Trigger point that may not have been fully pressed yet. For some.
Clint, I don't think it's out of like heartlessness or anything. I don't think anybody that's running the department is bad people. It just, from the outside looking in, it seems like there's a misunderstanding between, on one hand, they might literally say, well, more corn, whatever it is, like, more liberalization of whatever it is, more corn, whatever. We need to kill more deer. And then there's a misunderstanding as to why it's not equaling the result that they want.
Yeah, I think part of it too, Jared, and maybe this might be the biggest part. The biggest part is the constituents that we serve, right? So your voice is a good one and a loud one, and can reach a lot of people.
Yeah.
But you make great points, but there are roughly two on the other side of that for every one of you.
Okay.
That makes a change that would be, and I said 60-40 ish.
Yeah.
Baiting, no baiting.
Mm-hmm.
For a regulation change, that's pretty big mountain to climb. I think.
Sure.
And I think that, and I'm not speaking based on my recommendation or anything like that. It's just when I look at whether that decision to pull that lever gets made, we have to consider what's the reaction
of
to
course.
that going to be, right?
What is that?
And if the reaction is strong enough, I mean, we can look to other states to see what then happens, and then those things get written into law, which then we can't ever touch again.
Touch them.
What is that? What are the voices on the other side then?
The ones that are probating?
Yeah, sure.
Just probate.
Yeah, so like if I'm on this, you heard my argument. What's on the other side of that? The opposition.
They want to be able to bait. I mean,
They
it's
probably
like
have
it helps them kill deer on a property. Small properties is probably, in my mind, the one that makes the most sense in a way.
Me too. I get it.
I'd say. I mean, that's probably. And again, I think there's a false narrative about being able to kill deer.
Right.
Yeah, with or without.
Now, granted, it may be harder to kill them with a bow and arrow, but those deer will get killed in the season at some point.
I think my full circle on it, and again, I don't know. We've talked about like mutual sacrifice on it, something like a cell cam ban, right? Where it's like we both kind of lose on that one. It's not like the small property guy loses. He can still put bait out. I don't give a shit. He can still hunt. He can still kill deer on it. He just can't be as selective as he used to be with having the cell cam.
Which really is the root of it, Clint. Like it's not like I hate corn for corn's sake. Like it's whatever. And like your other people is like, I hunt over corn. We buy lots of it. It's the reality. It's the selectivity is what's causing the dynamic of like from an access and from a killing standpoint.
Which is why probably 10 years ago when baiting was legal, but cell cams weren't a thing, there wasn't
as big of an issue. 100%.
Right. So that's someone asks me that all the time. Like, when did it become legal? I don't know that there was ever a time that it wasn't.
I don't know either. I think Tonk said something in the 70s. There may have been, it came up, or I don't know if it already was, or if it, but it was never a thing. Like
it wasn't and I think that's there was a time too.
We threw it out the window. Dude, I can remember. It wasn't long ago. It was like it was 5 to 10 years ago. And you know why it stood out to me is like you'd see it on TV shows and stuff. Like guys would really try to hide the fact
behind a log,
and nobody would talk about it. It was kind of maybe we threw a little bit of corn, but we don't talk. But we don't want people to know. And at some point, we just got over that, and we're like, well, that's what we do. That's what you have to do, and yeah.
HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Primos.
Dude, double bull blinds, the original doe can, and who could forget the iconic Magnum buck roar?
I mean, that in a nutshell is Primos for whitetail deer hunters. I mean, that buck roar is by far the best grunt call that's ever been made. I lost it in a CRP field in Kansas, somehow found it, and for the last 10 years, I've been notching every buck that I've called in with that call, and I can tell you there's a lot of marks on it.
There's been a lot of them over the years, man. I can recall. So my dad actually shot that 160-inch 8-point in Ohio a couple years ago. It was double bull blind. I just set that up a few days before, and we've had a lot of success out of those over the years. And so right now, you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, for a discount off anything on the Primos website. That's primos.com.
Speak the language. But so, yeah, it's that selectivity thing of and as much as I love them and use a shitload of them, like I'm open to the discussion of removal of cell cams, at least during the hunting season. Like maybe in the off season, great, use them. I don't care from that. But from whatever it is, October 1st to, February 1st, like no go. That I think, here's the way I look at it is, and again, it's in conjunction, and maybe we've talked about baiting being the lower hanging fruit. I get it. But if they're not willing to compromise, like we have to find a place of common ground, right? Mm-hmm. So if I look at cell cameras in conjunction with bait, or cell cameras even by themselves, it's doing a couple of things. Number one is I'm monitoring ground that I'm not hunting, which is taking away from access. I think everybody, regardless of what side of the corn pile you're on, can say that's a problem. Access is a problem. That does allow you to monitor ground without hunting. Therefore, whether you're leasing, buying, etc., you're occupying ground. The second thing is it keeps people's ass out of the tree stand, blind, woods, whatever you want to say, because they don't have to hunt. They're literally just watching, wait. And without that, even if I have a corn pile, my butt has to be in there waiting for that buck or doe or whatever to come in. So I think it is continuing to add to the selectivity opportunities. And so if I look at just those things in general, and again, if it's the compromise, so be it. If I remove those during the season, I, number one, likely will give access back, which probably will make residents happy more than it will non-residents. That's a goal to achieve. Number two is I think it will dramatically reduce selectivity. And I think in tandem with that, like a 2A, I bet you kill more does because of it. Because people are like, man, if I'm going to be out here hunting and it's getting dark, I might as well just shoot this doe before I go back. I think if there's a happy compromise, and like I said, I love those things, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you would find many people on the other side. You would have people on both ends kind of upset about it, but ultimately I think you'd have more people on both ends say, fair compromise.
Yeah. Yeah, I love how throughout this discussion that it's been this access issue. Like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's something that, while may seem obvious to you guys or someone, but to some of your listeners, like, oh, yeah, I can see how that plays into.
I guess the question there, Clint, is in is that it's not really a biological issue. So like, is it something that Clint McCoy can throw up the flagpole, right? Or is that a bigger issue that you're not in a position to recommend? Does that make sense?
I don't know that it's something that I would be able to formally recommend a ban on cell cameras. I don't think that's something that falls within my
that's what I'm asking, I guess.
Wheelhouse. But I can make.
But you know a guy.
The ultimate impact can be biological, right? I mean, so kind of all of these things are tied together.
We need to kill more does, which is biological.
Exactly. So in that vein, there are some conversations that can be had.
Mm-hmm. To clarify it, well,
go ahead.
and I don't know. You know what I mean? I was gonna almost say
you don't like that.
Well, and nobody's going to.
What do you mean?
Nobody wants to get rid of cell cameras. Like hunters, anybody. Nobody.
I want to. But I want progress and I want to compromise.
I agree, and so that's where I agree. Okay. Yeah, and we at the end of the day, I think it's the selectivity that we're trying to
enact.
The three of us together, like diagnose and target. Well, access is the result of we feel
of the monitoring,
the targetability. Yeah. So I mean, dude, there's just no disputing it. Like the corn piles are what puts deer in front of you, like in a spot. Mm-hmm. The cameras, I mean, and especially cell cameras, allow you to monitor that, be more effective at hunting it, and more selective at how you hunt it. Probably.
Yeah, which is contributing.
That's the dynamic of the two.
Yeah, access and selectivity.
Yep, agreed. And so. It's not as I think Jeremy proposes it as like a happy medium.
That's exactly why I propose it. I'm not saying that it's not that biologically the baiting is way worse. That is a disease magnet. It has no value. I cringe at a corn pile being out even right now when these deer, like if anything, like I'm feeding protein, and whatever. Yeah, it's more expensive, and does it actually have an impact? I don't know. But I don't want to see corn piles out in the wintertime, effectively feeding the deer because nutritionally it's a pit, And
but even from all of like the hunter dynamic aspects that we're talking about, like it is the number one culprit, even over cell cameras, right?
I think that I think it's a 1A, 1B because one without the other fixes the majority of the issue. Minus the disease thing. Take that out the window biologically, right? Throw that out the window. One without the other fixes the majority of the issue. Corn piles alone still allow people to kill deer on 2 acres, still could allow for, so artificial, but the selectivity side of it, the butts in the seat for the time they have to hunt, all of that stuff goes away because cameras goes away. Flip the coin, keep cell cameras, get rid of baiting. I can still be selective, right? But there's not nearly the artificial support of they're coming to this bait pal. I'm not going to be able to monitor as much, therefore I'm likely not going to secure.
You definitely still can monitor, but not remotely from your phone. I mean, you can run a camera over it.
Well, no, but I'm saying if cell cameras no baiting, I can still remotely monitor, but I'm not going to nearly be able to monitor as efficiently. Therefore, I'm not going to lease as much ground, buy as much ground.
Yeah.
So it's a 1A, 1B, and yes, biologically, bait pals, lowest hanging fruit. If I was given the magic wand, I'd pick it and we'd be moving on.
Yeah.
But if it's what do we need to get across the table? Because one of these 2 things has to go. If one of these things does not go, in 5 years, we're in a nasty, nasty discussion of overpopulation. Hunters can't do their job. Like, access is even worse. Like, I'm paying $15,000 an acre just to freaking have deer hunting ground. Like, this is all trash the way that goes. One of those 2 has to go. And so if it's a compromise on my end, so be it. I don't need to be selfish on that side. I'll compromise to fix the situation. Whatever, 75, 80% in the right direction.
Yeah, it's definitely. I agree. It's definitely one of the 2 main. It's one of the 2 main components of
because would you say that baiting was an issue prior to cell cams?
Well, you know what? It was brief, right? So I think it started to become an issue when probably around the origination of cameras.
Yeah, trail. What I was going to say.
Trail cameras in general.
Trail cameras in general probably.
Yeah.
Exacerbated it.
Yeah, because cell cameras. Don't get me wrong; like they are their own thing, but they're just a more evolved version of.
It's just more efficient
cameras. So the minute I had the ability to and so how long were cameras, like good cameras around and being heavily used before cell cameras came out?
I had my first
5 years?
Digital camera when we were in grad school. So I had my first big ass digital camera in 2007 or 8.
Yeah, I was going to say 2008, 9.
Yeah,
maybe.
That would have been when I had my first digital cell cam. Before that, it would have been film, which was a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
still had them, and then I had my first cell camera in 2012. I remember specifically getting it.
2012. And I think, honestly, the wide-scale usage of, that Bushnell HD trophy cam stands out to me as, everybody had that camera. It had the bone collector thing on. And right around that time, that was when everybody started to, in Ohio, this is when the corn pile started to beef up. I can dump these things everywhere. I can monitor all of them, and I can find, a big buck. And in the meantime, you have the industry stuff happening in the back. That's when, But
would you say access was an issue at that point?
Oh,
because I would say no, or maybe it was starting to be, but it wasn't that we saw when cell cams came.
Definitely, that wasn't as bad as it is now.
That's what I'm just trying to know. I don't think you can ever tease them all apart. It's just like any thing that you look at from a research project. It's boy, there's so many factors. I don't know if you can ever tease them apart.
If I can, though,
Go ahead.
That's the reason that I know it won't fix it as complete. And I'm with you on hey, it's definitely one of the.
I don't think it'll fix it 100% either, because bait is the problem.
Bait is the problem.
I'm just saying that as a whole,
yes,
if it's 60-40, bait's not going anywhere unless disease takes it over. And then you got a whole nother issue.
I don't know. Frankly, per conversation with Clint, he's not saying that it is, but there's a lot of problems that people see with the baiting. Biologically, from a landowner standpoint,
I think it's becoming more vocal from the residents they're surveying, because those residents are being displaced off private land to public land where they cannot bait. Therefore, they're saying, I don't want baiting. Well, yeah, that's because you can't bait. You're on public land.
No.
I bet it's
you're walking it too far. They're just being displaced, period.
And probably having to hunt public land.
Or they're just not hunting.
or they're just not hunting.
Yeah.
Either one of those. They can't bait. Whatever they're doing. They're not hunting, they can't bait. They're on public, they can't bait. I think that's the survey is going to those people, and
or they can't afford to bait as much as the person.
That's right.
Very possible.
That's
more
right.
and more and more of those people are being vocal because of that situation, which is in tandem with access, money, the works.
That's right.
I don't know if there is a 100% fix. Like, I mean, yes, in theory, bait removal, quote, fixes things.
Well, to flesh that out, if we can, and Clint, maybe you can help us with some stats here. If you just said hypothetically, all right, we're going to get rid of baiting, what is the percentage of hunters essentially that are losing opportunities because of that? Those would be people that are hunting super small acreages, I assume. Am I missing anybody there?
No.
Like that's pretty much who would have a legitimate.
Those would be the ones that I would say have will have a damn tough time killing a deer if you're hunting 5 acres and under.
Yeah, depending on what your 5 acres looks like, you may not kill a deer. There will be a reason for a deer to be on your property, right?
Right.
That's a very difficult question to answer, Jared.
Yeah.
Do we have any stats on that of like what's the average size parcel people are hunting or anything like that?
I probably have some survey data somewhere that I could get that.
And I know it's probably tough too, because a lot of those are the landowners who I don't know how often they're getting surveyed, but yeah, they're the landowners. Because do we even know who they are?
We do landowner survey, but it's not a deer hunter landowner survey.
Right.
It's just a landowner survey to
In
gather
general.
opinions on deer and hunting and stuff.
Yeah, because that would
some
be
of
the
them.
thing.
Some of them are deer hunters, but not all of them for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back to the original question. If we don't know the answer, that's okay. But
we know that like 60% of deer hunters on our survey. So these are resident deer permit buyers. So not landowners.
Right.
Deer permit buyers. About 60% of them say that they use bait at some point during at some point during the year.
Sure. But we don't know
for the purposes of monitoring or harvesting deer.
But we don't necessarily know the parcel sizes that they're
no, not from that data. We won't. No,
because you're right. That would be the constituents that are in trouble. Is if you took baiting away from them and they're on small parcel or like they've got whatever, a little bit of pasture and a little bit of woods, like they're the ones who likely will not succeed at hunting very often moving forward with the removal of bait.
Yeah.
Well, and you'd hope that you'd have to see the plan like into fruition here, but like you'd hope that those are the people that would regain access by the displacement of people who are gonna give up access by not having the baiting. Like that,
I would agree.
That's the shift you're hoping will take place there.
What? Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
But what happens economically? Beyond what Clint was talking about in terms of corn sales from co-ops, etc. What happens economically to those small property values? Are they still worth anything? You still buy 5 acres to deer hunt in Ohio? I'd assume not.
Yeah, there doesn't
not
seem to
for
be
that not for that sole
not for that
purpose.
purpose.
You wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, for sure, bigger pieces I think would go up in value. Selfishly, us.
Yeah.
Right. Or whatever. Smaller pieces, I don't know if they would suffer. I don't know if they just stay the same because it's just, I don't know, people are just, it's a small house and acreage and they want that anyways. I don't know.
There's definitely,
just speculating.
Yeah, there's demand for land outside of.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just speculating on that, if that would be an economic impact.
Yeah. Overall, I think you're going to see a positive. There's more acreage, of taxpayer land values that will increase. Clint, if we can, not to make too much of a comparison here. Are we doing okay? Are we okay with time for right now? And
yeah.
Do you talk to Jace Elliott very much in Iowa? Like you guys, it sounded like graduated from the same college there, and he mentioned that you guys were friends or colleagues in some capacity.
Yeah. So we're basically, in my old job, I guess, before I took over for Tom, we were basically, he was me in Iowa.
Yeah, equals.
Basically the deer biologist. We were basically equal. So yes, we have an annual Midwest gathering for deer and turkey biologists that we, unfortunately, he didn't make it this year to the most recent one. But yeah, we typically see each other at those and communicate fairly regularly when issues come up or when we can solicit information from our neighboring states, because we do that on a very quite a frequent basis, right? I mean, in Ohio, if there's a change kind of lurking or change that has been suggested or maybe even just starting to look at something, one of the first things that you would do is reach out to your other Midwest state partners and say, hey, what do you guys do with this, and what does it look like for you?
Well, that's awesome. And so I guess I would set the pretense here of like, it's not to say Iowa is Ohio or Ohio should be Iowa or vice versa, but it's worth comparing if there's things that we're struggling with that they're succeeding with, or vice versa. And especially since, you and Jace are communicate often, I mean, it seems like it would make sense to do there. So it's interesting that some of the things that seem like are the biggest issues in Ohio, Iowa has no problem with. Like they have no issues regarding their doe harvest, and they have no issues regarding resident access. And so if we look at a few basic things here and say, well, okay, what does Iowa do that Ohio doesn't, or vice versa? I think some of the things we keyed in are like pretty obvious, the baiting being a huge one. And one that we didn't and may not even talk about today would be crossbows. They don't allow those either.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so much of these things that differ from one state to the next. It's not the people like me or Jace or Chad in Michigan or whoever in whatever state. It is a large part a product of just the history of that state, right?
Yeah.
So we are a crossbow state because it started as a crossbow state, not because there wasn't, that's
no
just how things,
or anything.
that's just how things happened, right? I mean, at 19, and then it's like in the 70s or something where, the crossbows, they weren't, I mean, I don't know what a crossbow in 1970 looked like.
Yeah, probably just like a recurve limb, nothingness. Yeah.
Right.
So it wasn't anything that required, special regulation at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess the same would be with baiting, right? It's not like you guys implemented baiting; it's just always been there.
Well,
So the miss on baiting was like it was a non-issue, right? So there was a non-issue with baiting because of the way people hunted.
Right.
People hunted at Ohio primarily during 7-day, or
Gun
I guess it was a
season.
6-day at one point for Sunday hunting, but during a week of gun hunting, and folks got together and they did deer drives.
Yep.
There was no part of that included a corn pile, right?
Yeah.
And that was
no
that
doubt.
was
You're
that
right.
was hunting. That was hunting in Ohio for decades, really.
Yeah.
So there was not there was never a reason to have any sort of rule against baiting, because you asked the regular Joe, like, you use bait to hunt deer. Well, why would I do that? It was like a non-necessity. So things that are different between a lot of these states really are just a product of the history within that state.
Yeah. Well, I believe that. And you're right.
Yeah.
A lot of these things haven't been issues for a long time, but now here we are.
Well, it's the evolution. It's like crossbows. We just said it. 1970s crossbow. Nobody cared. That thing, who knows if they could even like shoot 20 yards with that thing. Now, I shoot 100 yards with that crossbow. Like the evolution of that weapon is why, I don't know what the numbers are, Clint, but I would assume there's as many, if not more, deer being killed in archery season than there are in gun seasons, because crossbows are a very effective weapon nowadays. They weren't.
We're about 48 to 49% of the harvest is during archery.
So damn near 50-50.
Yeah.
Because of crossbows being evolved into an absolute killing machine weapon, versus in the 70s and 80s, it wasn't.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's and so I think that maybe the challenge there, and I don't know what the right answer is that, like, because do you respond to that, right? Do you look at that and say, whoa, wait a minute, crossbows were never an issue, but that's because the crossbows of 20 years ago are not the same. It's like,
well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at here. Is like, I don't think the three of us should accept that, well, we were just screwed out of the get-go is like,
oh no, and that's not, hopefully that's not what it came across as. What I was saying is they are like they are primarily because of the history that they've experienced.
Sure. There were no crossbows,
right.
there was no baiting, so they didn't inherit anything to deal with. Frankly,
right.
The three of us are inheriting what we're talking about here. Like, it's just always been a thing.
Exactly.
Does that set the playing field right?
So hopefully I wasn't like just passing it off like, no. I don't need to worry about that because that's just the way it's been.
No, it's just setting the playing field that, like, yes, they have always been legal. Now, has corn piles changed? No, the method of hunting has changed, which is now making them more effective. Crossbows as a weapon absolutely have evolved.
Yeah. Well, yes.
So what I'm saying is, like, do we deal with that?
Well, yeah. So what's happening is, like, at some point we should acknowledge that, like, and maybe it was because Iowa started with regulations and they were in a better situation, and there they are doing amazing. Like,
I think they are. I think that's what we're saying here is, like, they started with those things being illegal, thus they're still illegal.
And the things that are issues for us now were, but what you know what I'm saying? It's like the things that Iowa wasn't regulating for weren't an issue then, and it just happened to be that it was like they wouldn't allow them. So now they're still good.
But it's probably easier, right? Now they've been prevalent in the state of
it is easier.
Ohio for how many years?
That's that's the inertia, right? I mean, that's the inertia.
Right.
Like, and I'm not defending.
No,
I know.
I know.
Just like,
I know.
Change is, if there's anything that's different, the easiest thing to do from one year to the next as a deer biologist is say, no, we don't need to change anything.
Don't change anything.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just let it ride. Because no change, the devil that brought you is better than the devil you don't know, right? Like, at least you know what you're going to get. So that really is, that's the challenge here. Now with crossbows, what would happen with crossbow harvest or archery harvest in general if baiting's taken off the table? Like, does it matter?
I would say that it would decrease.
Yeah.
If what was taken off the table?
If baiting was taken off the table, what would happen to archery harvest? I would say it would decrease.
I would say probably by a lot.
Here's my gut, though, is I would say that your gun season would increase. It would offset it.
I think it would too.
Exactly.
Which, if you're looking at the stats on the sex ratio, you're going to kill more does.
That's what exactly.
Kill less bucks.
I would agree. Yep, I 100% would agree with that. So I mean, it absolutely is a cause and effect. The weapon evolution thing, we didn't really address it. That's a big piece. Because again, it's not the fact that crossbows are legal or not. It's the fact that a weapon has become extremely efficient.
I'll put it this way, like, not to be extreme, like I really feel like we live in a post crossbow world. Like, it will never go back. Like, we'll never go back, and we're worse because of it.
Well, but if I can add, just because of our
not just Ohio, that's every state, pretty much.
Clarify what? Is it the fact that it allows more people to participate in archery?
Or more time.
Over a longer period of time. Yeah, I think the total footprint of hunters because of crossbows is much, much greater.
Thus an access issue again.
Yeah, not necessarily in terms of deer harvest. I'm not saying more deer are getting killed or whatever. It's just we're occupying a lot more space because of it. I think it's the number one by far contributor to loss of access.
We've seen it here. I think Pennsylvania has, I don't know if they have stats, they just haven't released them. We've really seen it here, Clint, in that when crossbows became legal in the last decade and change, the immediate thing that we saw was an increase in archery harvest, but a decrease in gun harvest. Like, we weren't killing more deer.
Right.
We just shifted it, right?
Exactly.
In today, what we see is, I mean, damn near like what sounds like a vacant gun season, because people have 2+ months in better weather to either kill deer or they don't even feel the pressure to be out during opening day because they're like, man, I've been hunting hard, or the wife says, hey, you've been hunting pretty hard. Like, do you really got to go opening day? Like, it's a weird shift. But what has changed, so deer harvest hasn't changed. What's really changed is all of a sudden, Pennsylvania now has leases. You've got people occupying land exclusively. The days of like gun season deer drives and stuff are dead because property lines are heavily posted. None of that was an issue prior to crossbows.
And from the outside looking in, it looks good because we're killing bigger deer than we ever have. Like, I could make the same claim that you did earlier. We're killing more bigger deer than we ever have. But guess what? It's fewer people than ever before. It's because there's less hunters, and the ones that are hunting still are protecting their access. They're keeping people out.
Yeah. That's very true. I mean, I wasn't saying we're killing more bigger deer. I was just saying that the proportion of the deer that we're killing are in that 3.5-year-old age class or older. Yep. Not that they're bigger, but they're older. We could go down that rabbit hole in a minute, but go ahead.
Well, the one thing I'll say that Pennsylvania has and Ohio doesn't, and I would assume it's tradition driven and or just who we are as a state versus you guys, is we still kill more antlerless deer than antlered deer by far every year at the end of the harvest season. Like
we're there, we're just not there far enough. So we're about 55 to 58% antlerless.
Okay.
On the season.
Yeah,
we need to be a little higher.
Yeah, and so we've seen that. We've continued to embrace that. I think we're pretty balanced in age structure, but we also, I would say, are very unselect because we can do cell cams, but we can't do corn piles.
How about your proposal? Was this the other day we were talking about? How about earn a buck for non-residents in Ohio?
I'd be all for it. I think that's a no-brainer, dude, because...
Isn't that a win-win?
Yeah, I would assume so, right? Because those guys aren't going to kill a doe, for sure, 10%, right? We just said it. It forces them to do the duty, which is help Ohio manage the deer population and kill a doe before they can take their buck. I think it helps, from a resident standpoint, just the fact that like, oh, wow, these guys are going to have to carry some of the weight. Now, the downfall is at the most 40,000 does, right? Like if every non-resident kills a doe, 40,000, which helps. Does that reduce the amount of bucks they take? Maybe. Because of pressure or whatever they have to do.
Here'd be another one for you. Sorry, Clint. I know we're just throwing proposals.
He's just writing them out. He's like, okay, I'll put that one up the chain.
Good idea. No, that one sucks.
One up the chain.
Here's another one. What about earn a buck for resident landowners, or you can buy a tag and not have to shoot a doe?
I'll let you come and propose that one.
So let me ask. So Clint, this is obviously, I assume, something grandfathered in, not your decision, maybe not even Division of Wildlife. Like it does. I get it from a landowner perspective, as I am one, but like the privilege, I guess, of not having to purchase a license to harvest a state resource kind of chaps me a little bit.
Yeah,
right? Like they don't own the deer.
I can see why.
They own the land. I'm all for landowner rights, but they don't own the deer that are on it. That's the people's deer. It's the state's resource. So I feel like to harvest one of those, they should have to buy a tag. Maybe it is cheaper, but what it would help them, and I've lectured a lot of these guys on it, and they just don't want to hear it, is that they keep complaining about non-residents. Well, we're footing 70% of the license bill. So if you want a louder voice, you're going to have to figure out how to contribute to the pot a little bit better. So
there's a little bit of like having your cake and eating it too. Kind of
right.
Yeah. So, I mean, could Ohio, hypothetically, this is a soundbite, Nick, so he's going to take it. Could Ohio go to a non-resident draw because resident landowners offset the license cost by buying a tag? There's more of them, right? So if they bought a tag, right, could they offset what non-residents are bringing to the table and force a non-resident draw, essentially? Because we're not killing any does. We're killing 10% does. We're not effectively helping the population management. And I'm a non-resident. I'm putting myself in the group. That's why I'm saying that. Don't know. I'm just challenging Ohio residents to think outside the box. If you want your cake and eat it too, you're going to have to do something to figure out how to pay for it.
I appreciate that perspective, Jeremy.
Just so you didn't have to say it, is that?
Yeah. the landowner thing has been a challenge.
Yeah.
For various reasons. One is there's no voice from because we can't include them on our surveys. If they don't buy
yeah, who are they?
Yeah, we don't know who they are. So there's really no solid measure of hunting pressure across the landscape because we can't account for who's hunting or how many people out there are hunting, because so many are hunting without any notification. So that's one thing. The other thing, Jeremy, is that it because of that, there's so many blocks to like your management assistance program.
Oh, I know, man.
Like that, I would love to be able to implement something that would allow people to manage deer on their property the way that they feel like they want to or need to. And if that included taking additional deer, they need an ability to be able to do that, right?
Yep.
Because of that landowner exemption, distributing permits has become very
almost
challenging
impossible
to work around.
Interesting. I didn't think about that, honestly, Clint. I wondered because we asked Tonk straight up. He probably had to bite his tongue, or maybe he just told us because it was towards the end of his day. But like clearly we were like, yeah, like you understand DMAP would make Ohio better. The answer was a nod, I believe. But I didn't understand why it kept getting blocked, essentially, or stopped. The residents, landowners not having bought tags, therefore, who are they, and how would you then apply DMAP? That makes sense.
Yeah, it's not impossible. It just makes things more complicated.
Absolutely does.
Why don't we just make them buy a free tag?
We've approached that. It doesn't seem like it goes very far because it's seen as a step to. It's just the first step to something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just
they're like, I don't want to do anything. It's an inconvenience. I don't. There is, and this is where the landowner rights thing is. There's a bit of entitlement to where they're like, it's my land. I don't need to do it.
And part of it too, guys, is I don't know, as just being at my level, which is way down here. I don't even know how much of that those rules and laws regarding landowner. I don't know how much of that is controlled within the agency versus how much is,
I bet not much.
Like in the legislature.
Yeah, I bet not much of it is.
What do you mean?
Like I don't know if us as an agency could just go and say, hey, we're going to now make landowners
buy a tag,
get a tag.
Yeah, that might be at the legislative law level of like they're exempt from it. Yeah. Therefore, you can't touch it.
So that's given that I've never been in a position that I would be able to call. I don't know that that's the case, but it's
a problem.
It's a significant issue.
Yeah,
I have seen a response from some people on when we've had conversations in the past. They basically say, "Hey, I'm an Ohio landowner. I would gladly pay a license fee if we could get rid of baiting." That seems to be a trade-off that's been proposed.
Interesting.
I wonder. I think,
not by me.
Well, I think we talked about that at some point from an, again, this is purely compromise, right? Not like one or the other, but like hypothetically, if you made people pay, I don't know, $200 for a baiting tag, would they buy it to bait? That's what Tennessee did. Tennessee basically said you have to pay for a baiting license.
I just hate things that continue to endorse the rich man sport thing.
I get it.
I think that's what that does.
I get it.
I think people that can afford to will.
Yeah. Yeah, I would assume so. And those who
the state
can't,
will grab some money in the meantime.
And you can't. How are you going to enforce it? Like, hey, show me your baiting license. Like
that was my first thought right? when you said
it's
that.
Anything. It's the same with the cell cam thing. Like how, in theory, you could regulate cell cameras, but it's also like, well, then can I use regular cameras during the hunting season? If the answer is yes, are you going to have somebody enforce that? I mean, 50% of the people will abide by the law. That's just, a quick assumption of how it would go. The other 50% may bend it, and so it's like, hey, are you using cameras? Yeah, but they're not cell cameras. Okay. Like, who knows? So that's been the counter to my cell camera proposal during the hunting season, is that people will say, well, if you're going to do it, I think you have to ban them all. Yeah. Okay. Well, I was trying to compromise. So, I was trying to find middle ground there.
And that was not a popular one. We actually asked that question on
man.
our deer hunter survey last year and it was on public land, asking about
ban it like some other states have.
Public land. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, by and
most
large,
said we need it.
There was not an appetite for getting rid of trail cameras on public land.
Well, and I don't blame the public land guys, right? Because they can't use corn. Therefore, that's the only advantage that they have.
Yeah.
Right? So, you take that away and they're really in a battle against the private landowner next door who can use them and has bait out. So I don't blame them in that situation. If you leveled the playing field, though, you might get a different response. If I said no cameras at all, I bet the public land guys would be like, great, do it.
If they thought about it, if they thought about it long enough to know what impact that might have on the deer.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of reactionary responses here, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we can circle it a million different ways. I mean, I think the three of us know it's like you got to get rid of baiting. It's not a complicated answer.
It's not, but it is when you look at what people want. And right now, the majority of people would outvote us and say, we want baiting, you lose.
All right, so you give it 4 more years until everybody's completely fed up, and then try again. It seems like we're getting there.
My problem is in 4 more years or 5 more years, we're in a really bad situation.
Yeah, I think we're in a bad situation now.
I think you got to slow the bleed, which is why I'm trying to compromise.
I hear you. I'm just trying to get them to do anything.
Well, I mean,
not you, Clint, just the state.
No, I hear you. But
to Clint's point earlier about
do anything, acknowledge the problem,
where Iowa is and stuff, because of the political environment and the way that lobbying works, it is way easier to introduce something new than it is to take something that exists off of the table.
I agree.
We are in a massive predicament in Ohio in that everything in the world is
legal.
Already in.
Clint, I can literally right now go find a deer with a drone and then land the drone and then walk out there with my gun and shoot it. Like, that's where we're at in Ohio right now.
You can't go with a gun yet, but soon.
In a couple days. Yeah.
Yeah. But that is the problem, right? Is all of these things are on the table. So to remove,
it's going to keep coming too, dude. That technology is not going to stop evolving. At some point, we have to draw a line in the sand somewhere with any of them.
Yeah, and I don't know. So the danger is okay, if I go to the legislative level, right, and let's say somehow something gets approved, cameras, corn piles, whatever, something gets approved. Division of Wildlife can't touch it, right? Once it's a law in place, it becomes very much out of their hands. That's the thing when people come to us and they're like, man, you guys are just all for more regulation. It's like, to a point, because it has to, right? It's a finite resource that we have to manage. But what I want to figure out, and I'm not smart enough to know the hierarchy of how different DNR structures and legislative works. In a perfect world, Clint, I would enable the Division of Wildlife and or the DNR, however it has to be, the powers that be, to control all of the things that we're talking about: corn piles, crossbows, cell cameras, trail cameras, harvest bag limits, whatever, the season dates, the entire plethora of it, so that at any given time within the DNR, with the assistance of the Wildlife Council being yay or nay, you guys could say, okay, for the next 3 years, we're going to do X. And if X doesn't work after 3 years, we're going to resort back to a Y plan with no legislative involvement whatsoever. That effectively enables you as the biologist as much as possible to give your recommendations, the administrators in their position above you to be decision makers with the council's support of yay or nay. It's contained as in a close environment as possible. The moment it leaches out into the legislative world with representatives of all of these different areas and stuff who don't know anything, we're screwed. Game over. Like, it's just not, and that's no disrespect to them. It's just there's too much political influence to then make a law of which then once it's a law, like crossbows in the archery season, it ain't getting changed. It cannot be changed. It will not be changed unless another law comes in and changes it, and good luck there. So that is the problem with managing wildlife in general, right? It's easy to manage the wildlife. It's impossible to manage the people.
That you summed it up with that for sure. Is that the stuff that you and I went to school for is not the stuff that we do in these positions really.
No,
anymore.
Unfortunately, no.
It's sociological in nature by and large. I should have been a human dimensions major for all intents and purposes. As many surveys and as much survey data as we use, not population surveys, but like sending surveys out to hunters, people surveys.
Well, at least kudos to you for doing that, man, because there are a lot of states. I couldn't tell you the last time I got a survey in the state of Pennsylvania.
I'm sure they do them, though.
I know they do. I'm not knocking them completely. I'm just saying, like, it isn't often, and I haven't seen one in quite a while. Like, so, it does happen. Kentucky will send me one after my elk hunt. They take those and they publish the data the next year, subsequent year, so you can see what the constituents who are involved in those hunts had feedback on. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just, to me, it's how we started this whole podcast. It's like, dude, communication between the state and the general public, even in a podcast like this, insanely critical, right? For whether you're for or against what's being talked about, whether you have the same opinion or differing opinions, just being able to lay out a discussion and say, hey, here's Clint. He's the Ohio deer biologist. Here's the discussion that's had. Super valuable in knowing, like, you're a person. Here's your limitations and what you can and can't do, right? And I think that some of the challenges are, and this is where I think, if anything, we've hit a wall, is there is a level above you, man, and then above that even, to where it's like there are the decision makers, and there's a lot of different stuff coming into those decision makers before they make their decision effectively. It's not just Clint's recommendations. That'd be easy. Clint's recommendations this, cool, we're going to do that. It's all of the other stuff that comes in, and that's the wall that I think we've hit. Fortunately, we've had a Mike Rex on here who is a decision maker effectively to have conversations with. But, beyond that, like, we had a Jason Sumners who is a decision maker, but there are plenty of them out there where it's like, man, they seem untouchable to the average hunter, right? Like, they just, I don't know what they do. I don't know what decisions they make. I don't know where they got that idea from, right? That is the feeling I think that a lot of our listeners probably have, is like something happens or nothing happens in the case of what you just said. And they're like, how do they not get that? Like, what, to your point earlier, they're like, do they not feel this discontent between, and again, it's a very segmented group, right? You said there's one person over here for every two over here. Well, they don't have a choice, I guess, but to listen to the two people over here, unless there needs to be an adult in the room, because the two people over here are not doing what's best for the long haul.
Yeah, that's good, Jeremy. A lot of times it's not the idea that wins, it's who has the idea that wins. So
yeah, that's a good point, man. And that's in a lot of facets of today's world, right?
It is. I mean, that's just the reality we live in, unfortunately. But that is one aspect that we, depending on the actual subject or topic or regulation that we are fighting to change, that's certainly one of the hurdles.
Well, I mean, from my end, and it's not in defense of you or anyone in the positions, though, like, I understand and come from that background, is I want the audience to understand that, to your point earlier, is like, you're a recommendation maker, right? And far too often, whether it's you or Chad Stewart and I have a great relationship. Chad was one of my old bosses at Smithsonian, and we've got a great relationship. That dude gets beat to hell in Michigan, right?
He is such a good guy. I really, really love and respect that guy.
And what people have to understand is like the things that are happening, like Chad is in the same boat. He's a recommendation maker. He's not a decision maker. Like no matter how loud you yell at him or what you say, like he can't do anything about it. And that is the hardest thing. Like I appreciate everybody that comes into those positions that you're in and at least communicates. But it's not a great spot to be in because there's a lot of loud voices yelling at you that it maybe you're like, damn, Jared, like you're right. Like I would ban baiting. I'm not saying you said that, but that right.
I saw it in his eyes.
I'm just saying that even if that is what you believed in, even with all of I do think you have a ton of biological evidence that says this should not be here, and you send that up the mail chute to the upper management, it's coming right back down right now. And so it's just people don't have to understand that there's a level of input one way from recommendation from the biologist, and then there's all of these other stakeholders that are pouring in stuff in the same manner. Whether yours is weighted heavier or not, I hope so, because you're talking in favor of the resource. We don't know, and we can't control that, nor can you. But that's where, just having loud voices at you guys is one thing. Having loud voices at upper administrative, at the Wildlife Council, I've encouraged people to reach out to, and Mike probably hates it, but I've encouraged a lot of people to reach out to Mike Rex, right? Just because Mike is one of those people that he's got way more power than the three of us to make decisions and to have things happen. So I want people to just understand wherein lies the decision-making, wherein lies the recommendations, in that, at the end of the day, man, and I think hopefully I'm super excited about, selfishly, just because I'm down there, the FLIR surveys and stuff in the EHD areas and the progression over the years. But, you are looking out for the resource. And there are a lot of things that are affecting the resource that, frankly, are out of your control, and that sucks as a biologist. It is what it is.
It is what it is, right? I mean, it's part of my job to try to find ways around it, right? I mean,
sure. That's a great way to look at it.
That's, there are some things that maybe we wish were different, but realistically speaking, may not be for the foreseeable future. So we just keep marching forward and try to find ways to improve things despite some of those challenges, if we can.
Well, and if you ever lack issues that you need to push up the pipeline, Jared and I have plenty to provide. At any given time, we have a laundry list that we're happy to contribute to the bucket. HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Lone Wolf Custom Gear.
Man, those Lone Wolf stands have become such a cornerstone of our equipment over, recently, but also we've been using these stands for a long time, even the original Lone Wolves. They're all built right here in the United States. The lines just keep getting better and better. Cody and Andre and the whole team just keep innovating and introducing new stuff into the line this year. And they've got some new things coming this year.
Yeah, so this year we've got the Patriot Series, which, a lot of people are talking about this as being the cheaper, just fixed position side of things. But let's be honest, they can be mobile too, right? They weigh 12 pounds. But they're built from a value standpoint. So for guys like us who want to have 3, 4, 5 preset stands out there for certain wins, we can put this Patriot Series out there, have them ready. Nothing better than slipping up into one of these fixed position stands that's already set on the right wind.
No doubt. And so this year, as of right now, you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR. It's a one-time use promo code. Gets you 10% off anything on the Lone Wolf Custom Gear website. That's any of the custom gear stuff, any of the Patriot Series. So whether you're planning on getting into one for the first time or you want to stack a big order here before the season, code HUNTR will get you 10% off.
Hunt like a wolf.
I mean, is there a silver lining at all, Clint? Is there, is there, I'm not looking for closure necessarily, but is there some hope for any of the issues that we've raised here today? Or no?
Which issues?
I guess corn piles. Let's go with corn piles.
If I'm reading the room, not this room that we're virtual room that we're in,
the big room,
the big room. I'm not seeing that being attacked right now. Yeah.
Unless it's a disease issue.
Well, of course. So that, again, like your point earlier, is that's kind of already written in, right? So as that disease surveillance area expands, and because of positives that we've gotten this year, it will continue to expand larger than it is currently. So
if you find a CWD positive deer in Columbiana or Carroll County,
we'll take it.
Yeah.
Not saying do that, but
we'll take it.
Yeah, that's the realm that it goes. Though I will say, to the point of the short term thing, as crazy as it seems, and I will criticize them for a second, is Kentucky has now legalized baiting back in their disease management areas. You just can't put it in a feeder; it only must be on the ground.
Yeah,
that's dumb.
Common sense.
That's dumb. Kentucky, that's dumb. I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that. You banned it. You did the right thing. You went back on it, probably because loud voices were screaming at you, and now you've just made an absolute no nonsense, like no sense at all decision. So,
well, in light of the,
you don't have to comment on that.
In light of the
statement,
in light of the silver lining there that you tried to offer, it's gonna get ugly. I think it's gonna get a lot worse before I think that. To Mike's point,
and the ugliness that you're speaking of, just so that it's crystal clear to me, is this
just the loss of
the loss of access to people that want to shoot deer,
loss of experience.
I think that's the one that is all but gone at this point.
Probably the growing separation between the rich hunter of Ohio and the poor hunter of Ohio. I think that divide is like a Grand Canyon right now, and I don't know what it'll look like in 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
I do think, and maybe you're seeing them already, you're on the verge, if not it's already happening, to see fences in Ohio.
Yep.
And I think people are already doing that in the Midwest and non-bait states.
Fences in what way?
High fences.
High fencing sides of their property.
Oh.
Substantially, man.
So not like an enclosure, but just like a fence to block deer movement.
I mean...
No, like an enclosure.
I mean, Don Higgins has 18% of his property line fenced to block out, cut off neighbors.
Yeah.
And
it's
still leave areas of ingress, egress for deer that he wants.
It's just anything that people can, with money, can do to protect like a continued experience, they will.
Eventually, they can't buy more land to insulate themselves. It just constantly becomes an issue. So to insulate themselves, they cut themselves off. And so they don't want to high fence the whole thing.
Nobody
right?
wants to do that.
They don't want to be. And I should preface.
It's
this.
in retaliation.
People know this. I hate it.
I
have a massive distaste for it. I will never do it on my own properties. If that means I'm only going to kill 2-year-olds, so be it. But I won't do it.
Nobody wants to do it. It's a retaliation to the state's unwillingness to manage the resource in the way that they feel that it should be done.
That's a loaded question though, because the state's management of the resource is population purely. It has nothing to do with quality. It's quantitative.
Yeah.
So you can't
That's
say
fair.
it's
quantitative mostly. It's qualitative to kind of the demands of the majority, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it's just responsive to the demands of the majority.
So what sides. You're going to see
it's everybody wants to shoot a big buck, but almost nobody's willing to do what it takes.
Correct. Yeah, and a big buck is very subjective as well. Is that a big 3-year-old? Great, you can do that. Is it a big 5-year-old? You can't do that very often. So what you're going to see in the next 5 years, my opinion, is multiple properties putting up a side, 2-side type 8-foot high fences that effectively cut off their neighbors and natural deer movement to essentially control influence of harvest and baiting in the area. And I think it's gonna make the landscape. You think the landscape's fragmented now?
Jeez.
It's gonna look gnarly.
So that's news to me, Jeremy. I didn't know that people were actually deer-proof fencing along sides of their property.
I'm talking like 8-foot high tensile Texas.
Newsflash, dude. It's a lot of people.
No way. In Ohio doing that now? Like people in Ohio?
We see it more in the Midwest right now.
Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, a lot. I wouldn't be surprised that
quantify a lot. Like, are we? I mean,
so based off like a
you guys are talking to you. I mean, granted, you guys are talking to a very small minority of
not the average 40-acre dude, but think of the number of consultations that are happening with guys that own a couple hundred acres, 300, 400, 500 acres in some case, maybe even 160. Right, that's a common. They're fencing a side. They're fencing a neighbor out. It may not even be the whole side, but if I have a neighbor adjacent to me that hunts the line, they're fencing that 200 yards for sure.
Interesting.
I bet it's happening in Ohio right now. I would assume it's happening in Ohio.
So that's not. See, I hear a lot. Obviously, people know who to contact with deer stuff. That is one thing
we'll
I have
put
not
your phone
heard
number
yet.
at the end.
That's what I have not heard.
But that said,
yet.
let's even say confidently that's not happening yet. That's the next 5 years.
Well, you can understand the motivation. It's like, think about if you have a landowner with, let's say, like 500 acres or something, and they've got 10 neighbors on a side that all have 5 or 10 acre parcels
with corn piles,
and every one of them baits. Obviously his appeal to the state would be, how can you guys continue to allow this to happen? This is ridiculous. And it goes unanswered for 10 years. Eventually he just fences them all out. So then
basically Jared's talking about his own situation. Yeah. I mean, right? I mean, we've had the open discussion. You have neighbors like that, of which if you cut that side off, how would it affect your property?
Yeah, well, it would be that situation. And so there's no fences on our property, but you can understand the motivation as I could for anybody. I'm like, and dude, none of those guys want to do that. They just want the state to manage the resource.
The bottom line
which is our plea.
It is actively happening in non-bait states of Illinois, Iowa, and Missouri right now. I'm sure there's others, but those are the ones that I know about. Yeah. That is, more than you would think in terms of you're driving down the road and you're like, is that a fence? It is. Mm-hmm. It's not like fence 3 sides type of thing. It's not high fence. It is purely blocking neighbors.
Blocking a neighbor.
And or access routes to manipulate deer movement. And that is coming to Ohio. Man, I bet the Amish are good at building fences. I'll tell you that.
I bet they are.
So it's coming. If it's not already here and happening, first of all, the viewers will tell us if it is. We'll know right away.
I presume.
That's coming in the next 3 to 5 years. It's on the way. So that therein lies the, how does this thing get worse? That makes it worse, right? Essentially, people start taking it into their own hands to fence people off. Not only are they now occupying more land and access, they're now effectively taking it into their own hands to say, well, fine, I'll cut them off. If the state's not going to cut them off via one of the things we talked about, I'll cut them off. Well, now you're artificially changing the deer movement. You for sure are going to create these pseudo reserves or preserves for does, because I bet those people aren't just out there smacking does. They're doing that because those guys are killing their bucks.
Yeah.
It gets wild, man. And so again, so far, what I've seen is none of the states have stepped in to create. Illinois might have something; it's just loose, but to create some sort of, hey, you can't build a fence on your property type of thing. Well, now you're in private property, territory, and that gets
and
dicey.
Ohio is a huge private property rights state.
Exactly.
If you haven't figured that out,
I absolutely have. So yeah, that's where it's coming next, and that's what we don't want to see, right? Because it's just not what we all want hunting to be. If it's up to us, everybody has a great hunting situation and experience. If that's you taking your kid out to kill their first buck, I want you to do that. If that's you wanting to kill a mature buck, I can't guarantee that you're going to kill a booner or a 200. That's just not reality. That's tough, and they're rare. And there's a reason they're rare and they're cool. My background on the fence thing is that I think all of these steps of technology and now even fencing is continually making quote unquote big bucks not special, right? Mm. The reason they're cool now and everybody wants to kill one is because they're hard to find. They don't exist around every corner. If all of a sudden I start fencing all of myself off and I can produce whatever 4 or 5 year olds a year and I just kill them all the time, well, eventually they don't become cool either.
That you're exactly right. I mean, it's the same progression about deer in Ohio, really. I mean,
yeah,
there are still people around that I talk to frequently, or hear from frequently, that's reference seeing a deer track and just being over like, wow, that was so cool that we actually saw a deer track. And then, that same property that they first saw a deer track and was excited about, you just overrun with deer, and they lose appreciation for the deer themselves. And it's all about the bigger buck than that, the bigger buck than that. Eventually there's going to be a limit to how big the buck
there's a ceiling.
Yeah.
There's a ceiling. So, yeah, I agree. And that's where in tangent with that is the devaluation of a doe. At one point it was, hey, you killed a deer. Awesome, man. That's really cool. Now nobody gives a shit, and therefore nobody kills them. Yeah. They don't care. There's a lack of value attached to it. And that's bad for our hunting community because ultimately the stakeholders that are non-hunters look to us to manage the population. They don't want to hit one with their car.
Exactly. And how do we change that narrative in the hunting community, Jeremy?
You force them with earn a buck, unfortunately, because they just aren't good. I'm serious, man.
I mean, is there any amount of education though I don't know. We tried it before. We tried to show changes in antler size with how that responds to population size with actual data from Ohio. It didn't seem to move the needle much, but I mean, just this year, I have a long time biologist in Northeast Ohio has seen lots of deer over his career. He was at an aging station during gun week. Mm-hmm. Had deer come in. This is East Central Northeast Ohio. Had deer come in, and he's been there long enough, seen enough deer. Okay, those are going to be 1.5-year old bucks. Almost didn't age the deer. Cuts open the jaw. He's like, oh, that's a 2.5-year-old deer. Oh, that's another one, 2.5-year-old deer that typically, we're looking at yearling size antlers on 2.5-year-old bucks.
Right.
And so, I don't know. Are things like that a wake up call to deer hunters? I mean, we still have huge bucks out there, but is it taking them an extra year or two to get that size?
There's probably 25% of deer hunters that care about that and they're listening, right? Like this is the crowd, and how many of those are Ohio people? I don't know. I hope a lot. The majority, just like on the corn piles and everything else, no. And there are also the people that worried me in southeastern Ohio with the EHD, and that their entire lives deer just there. There's woods, there's deer in there. Right. And I worried that this season, regardless of the bag limit, they were going to go whatever buck they saw, they were killing because there's always deer there. And I bet they did. They probably were restricted because landowners were restricting them. But I think they still tried to kill deer because there's no comprehension of it being a resource that changes or is finite, that there's an end to it, or that, to your point, can be negatively affected by population. Well, there's deer there, there's big bucks there. Like, we hear that all the time. I hear that from guys that I think are pretty good hunters. They're just like, that's a big block of woods in Ohio. Like, there's probably a big buck there. And I'm like, no, they don't just exist. Like, they're finite. Like, it takes a lot of things to make that happen. I unfortunately think we're at the point that if you want them to kill them, you've got to kind of make them, or per what we talked about earlier, is you take some things away that makes it harder to kill deer in essence, or in their mind, or not selective.
Harder to kill a specific deer.
Correct. And that then makes them shoot those and appreciate just seeing deer. I mean, dude, coming from a guy who's bought property in low deer density areas in Kentucky, I can tell you my appreciation for just a doe and seeing deer is way higher than it's ever been. Yeah. Because I'll sit 6 days and see a doe, so when I finally even see a yearling buck, I'm like, man, that's cool. And that is gone in Ohio, in my opinion. It's gone in most states, unfortunately. And so, I think you just have to wind it back a little bit, right, to be less selective in order to make that, or you got to force the hand, which is earn a buck. And I know people aren't going to be happy about that, but our job number one as hunters is to be managing the population, period.
We flirted with earn a bonus buck in the disease surveillance area. That was an idea as a way to try to incentivize increased antlerless harvest.
Right, just because you kill more deer in the area.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
That did not make it out. That did not make it into a proposal.
I don't need names. Who would?
But who specifically?
Well, yeah, but I guess what level would stifle is that? Is that like dead at the commission level? Does it not make it to the commission? Like
it didn't make it as a proposal to Wildlife Council.
Okay, that's all I need to know. And I'm sure there's I get it. Constituents don't like that. And frankly, I would probably think earn a buck will suffer the same fate to a point.
Oh, earn a buck is what we were proposing. I didn't think was. We weren't taking away your ability to kill a buck. It was just
biologically. I think it makes a ton of sense in the situation that we're in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get it, man. We could go all day on this stuff. It's like, and I say it because
I hope you don't feel like we're beating you up.
None of them are even like, I don't know, man. I have no idea. If you put earn a buck in the state of Ohio and you said, hey, we're going to run a 3-year study. That's what they did with Pennsylvania and Sunday hunting. They're like, okay, we're going to do a 3-year study and see what happens, right? I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if we kill a bunch of does and all of a sudden people are like, wait a minute, whoa, we're not seeing enough deer. I don't know. All I know is the pathway we're going is not going to give us the outcome that's needed, which is we're not controlling the population. We're not killing more antlerless deer. And we sure as shit are not giving more access. So something has to be implemented. I don't think it's any sort of extra liberalization. Like if you give me another doe season, ain't going to work. Give me more doe tags, not going to work. Give me another gun season, not going to work. Like it's because people want to kill bucks, period. And that I think will continue to attribute less access the more liberalization you give or fences or whatever we just talked about. So if we're dealt the cards that we're dealt, it's like, what do we do here? Well, you force the hand and you make them put some cards back in the pot by saying, you guys got to shoot a doe before you kill a buck.
I just hate that we act like it's so severe too. Like, dude, we can't, how can you make any legislation change where like we're afraid to upset somebody? Like, I don't know, dude, you just got to do the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I know Hunters Advocate of Ohio share a lot of the same beliefs that we do. And I know that they work really hard from a lobbying aspect. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what they're pushing and what they're not pushing. Yeah. I mean, if I thought that as a non-resident, even as a landowner, if I thought as a non-resident going to a draw for non-residents would make Ohio a better deer hunting experience and a better big buck state, I'd vote for it. But boy, you couldn't be further from the truth. I don't think that's an issue at all.
We'll never know whether non-residents are an issue.
Yeah,
you'll never know because there's so much lower hanging fruit. Like it would be stupid to fix this thing that's way up here at the top before addressing some like issues that are screaming in your face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Frankly, you need their money, so it doesn't matter anyways.
If it got to that point, I'm with you. I would also vote for that. I want to see it. I want to see the resource improved for the residents of Ohio, and eventually me if I get to take advantage.
It's a weird point, Clint, because like again, all this stuff that we're talking about, some of it's biological, but most of it's not.
I was going to say, I might be the wrong podcast guest.
That's what I'm wondering, man. Like, not saying that you were the wrong podcast guest, but I'm like, whose tree do we need to bark up? That's why we had Rex on, right? And frankly, what was John's? John was lieutenant governor. What was his last name?
Huston.
Yeah. Before he took JD's seat in the Senate,
he had reached out about.
John was like, "Hey, we would come." I was like, "There it is. Like that's a big one. That's a big fish to have on." And then he went to U.S. Senate. Congratulations to him, but no longer impactful at this level.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, and it's not to, again, I say bark. It's not the bark. It's just we want to continue.
I mean, who is it, Clint? Is it like not
Kendra?
Yeah. Is it Kendra to have on a conversation or
is Mike Rex the guy that we go back to? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think about it and try to find the right.
Think about it, because it's not to bark at them by any means, but it's to have a discussion of for us, even if we came there, right? For us, we did it with Pennsylvania. It's like let's lay out all the cards, right? Where are the issues? Because there are issues. It's access is an issue, not killing enough does. Like we know, everybody knows the issues, and it's like, what's attributing to them, and how can we fix them without tipping the whole table, right? Because nobody wants to do that. To Mike Rex's thing, nobody wants there to just be a massive drop-off of hunters in Ohio. We're not asking for that. I'm not trying to accomplish that. But we're going to get there. There are probably, I don't know how many hunters standing on a ledge because they've lost access, they can't find deer, public land sucks.
Their experience is awful.
Yeah, they're going to step off the ledge at some point, right?
Well, they're aging out too, Jeremy. I mean,
they're aging out. Yeah, that's a huge part.
We've lost 60, 70,000 deer hunters in the last decade in Ohio. So
that's what. And so Jared and I.
Yeah, but even if we recruited that many more, there's nowhere to put them.
There's nowhere to put them.
And the experience is going to suck wherever they go.
That in there is the problem, is we're losing hunters as it is. I'd love for more people to come in. I mean, I'm raising my kids as the next level of hunters. But if I didn't have land, where would we go? Like, are we going to go hunt Wayne National Forest? Yeah, maybe we get lucky. But, boy, there's a good chance they're not going to have a great experience and not want to go back either. So we have to fix the things that are the issues so that we can ingest new hunters as we age out, as we lose hunters to whatever else. And if we can figure that all out, it's a win across the board. Will some people not be happy? Yeah. Will you take away my trail cameras? I'm not going to like it. But if it fixes something down the line that therefore improves it for everybody, hey, good. It's a sacrifice I'm willing to take. But that discussion needs to be had. It needs to be had in an educated stance. Maybe they tell us something. Maybe they tell Jared, listen, Jared, if we get rid of baiting, we will lose, mystical number, $250 million in sales because of it. How are you going to make that up? How are you going to make that up? I'm not saying to answer that right now.
Yeah.
But
we'll find a way if that's the problem.
But if that is a fact and that is what is stopping
I would say let's look at these other states that are doing it right. Why don't we do some of this?
Yeah, what is it? Is it higher revenue? Is it charging residents a fee? Like, I don't know what it is, but like until the cards are all laid out on the table, nobody, even ourselves, like this discussion is irrelevant because I don't know what the underlying issues or facts are that could stop baiting from being removed or cameras being removed or non-residents going to draw or charging residents landowners a license fee. I don't know. Somebody does, though. Or they're too afraid to make the change to find out. I don't think they are. I think they'd be open to it if there's a logical discussion that happens. And, like, frankly, dude, and don't say anything, like, you can't put yourself out there because you've got a family and a job. Like, you can't fall on the sword. Like, you're out. Then I lose an ally inside Ohio Division of Wildlife. That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, I'm a recommendation maker, so
I know,
I'm not
dude,
making
that's what
any
I'm
decisions,
saying.
right?
You can't. But you couldn't even like. Could you?
I can make a recommendation.
Yeah, but you wouldn't. Why would you make?
It may not hold power that.
Yeah. But why would you make something that's like off the wall, even if it was biologically supported? If you said, you guys are idiots if we don't remove baiting in 2026 in the state of Ohio, you could make that recommendation, but then they're going to be like, what the hell's up with Clint? Like, right? Like, and even if you had
they're going to say, Clint, we told you not to bring that up.
Yeah, even if you had a bunch of support, like you're not that guy. If somebody comes down and says, hey, Clint, we're thinking about removing baiting, biologically, is that a mistake? And you're like, nope. That's your job. That's your recommendation. At that point, it makes sense. But the other way around, dude, there's only so much stuff that you can throw up to the top that doesn't come rolling back down at you. You know what I mean? And Tonk knew that. That's why we argued the DMAP thing. Like, Tonk knew where the blocks were going to be, and so he was like, hey, I can beat myself to death on this thing, but and it makes sense. We should have it. Everybody's in agreement, but X, Y, Z can't happen. I get it.
Yeah, and we get lost in going back and forth on some of the things that don't really matter, like bag limits, for example. Like,
don't matter.
There's so little variation in bag limits from 3 to 4.
Now, if you said $2, different ball game.
True, very true.
Because people want to kill bucks.
But overall, like antlerless deer bag limit,
no effect. Zero.
People want to argue about it day and night.
Forget about it.
It's a very small impact.
I do think the 2-to-1 was a
Two-
big one
2 to
for
1's
the
huge.
HD stuff.
And
Huge.
3 to 2. So there's a distinction, and it's based on all of the data that we have that would suggest this, based on what we've talked about earlier. But 1 to 2, huge difference
Yep.
between antlerless harvest at
Yeah.
1 and 2. I mean, it makes sense. Right? You get
Makes
one
sense.
deer. Most people are going to be hunting a buck. Right.
No doubt.
That's easy. There's a pretty big difference between 2 to 3.
Mhm.
Even though the average hunter is only killing average
1.4
successful
or whatever.
is 1.4, the difference from 2 to 3 is pretty significant, actually. And it wouldn't make sense on the surface, but if you think about it long enough and you think, okay, well, if I kill a deer, kill a doe, if I'm in a 2 deer bag county, if I kill a doe, well, I'm not killing another deer.
No, you're
unless
done.
it's the
No more
buck that I
does.
want, right?
Yep.
3 deer county, you may not kill another deer, but you still, if you do, it can still
It's
be
not going
another
to prevent
antlerless
you
deer.
from killing your buck, right?
Yeah. So that's the difference there. But when we go beyond that, we're not, with things that
agree.
we're not making a difference.
Can I ask you one last biological question, and we can kind of wrap up with this?
Go for it.
May I? Does it bother you, like at a personal level, that you could make a biological, a recommendation about something like corn piles to say, listen, guys, biologically, it makes no sense. In fact, it's pretty detrimental to a lot of the wildlife, and that it can fall on deaf ears, and that they, would basically say, we're going to do it anyways.
I don't take it personally. I mean, I think
It's your job to be the recommendation guy.
Just let them answer.
Yeah.
No, I don't take it personally. It does not bother me to get told no. I've heard it a lot, actually. But I understand. I also, one of the reasons it doesn't bother me is because I know I've seen the other pressures that the decision makers have to be under, right? So I kind of get some resistance to making changes, even if maybe they're the ones
biologically they make no sense.
Yeah,
right.
But no, does it bother me? No. I mean it's.
Well, that's the sucky part about it, right? Is like, I think in your mind, it's like that's their fault. That's wrong, right? If it's biologically makes sense, they should support it.
I hear his answer on that too. No, I get there's other factors at play. But it's a pretty loud voice, it's like, hey, if you care about the resource, you should, your biological input should be a pretty loud voice.
Are you given fair justification in those no's, Clint? Of like, hey, hear you, but here. Or is it more of a no?
It's varied.
Yeah.
It's changed some.
Gotcha.
There was a time early on, and I'm not saying right, wrong, indifferent.
Sure.
Whatever. But early on, there was a time where we present recommendations like kind of formally, like as a presentation in front of people.
Yep.
That doesn't happen really anymore. So it's more of a there's a separation in the personableness, I guess, of the whole thing.
Church and state separate.
Yeah, it's like make the recommendations and they go up through electronically, mostly through email or whatever, email attachments, and then you hear back at some point down the line what of those are going to go and which ones aren't.
Well, I guess the reason I asked the question, and not to pry too much into your job, per se, but it's like, man, if I was in your shoes, like it would be frustrating to be like, hey, if I'm making recommendations and you're not going to take them, like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
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 It can be.
Yeah.
So when I said it doesn't bother me, it just, that was like I don't take it personally.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
And you're right not to, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's frustrating. Especially on
if
certain,
you have a recommendation,
certain
you believe in it.
Yeah. I mean, certain things that seem like, I don't want to say no brainers. That's not fair, but certain things that seem like low hanging,
logical.
They make a lot of sense, right?
That don't quite make it. Sometimes those are a little frustrating.
Yeah, those are tough to swallow. Mm-hmm.
Cool, that's fair.
The journey of a state biologist, ladies and gentlemen. That's just how she goes.
Well, Clint, we would like to still, have conversation. I mean, we kept you for almost 3.5 hours here, and so
that tends to happen.
I gave you permission. Yeah,
it tends to happen.
You did, and I asked. So, we'd love to continue to be involved. Whether it's to give input to you, or if there's conversations happening,
or deflect our voices to whoever needs to hear them.
We want to be involved. We care. I think you can tell a lot about the state and the future of the state, and like even if we disagree or have differing opinions on how certain things, like the outcomes of certain things, will be, like we want to be involved. So please keep us in mind if we can.
We have no fear of being the tip of the spear as well. So
it's good to know. Because there's certain advantages to being in your position, that
no one can hurt us.
Yeah.
No one can hurt our feelings. So, nobody can. We can fire ourselves. I don't know. Like, there's not really much to be removed. It really comes down to, and people take, and I hate it. They'll say, oh, elitist, you're landowners, you do this, XYZ, you're bow hunters, you don't care about whatever. I get it, because there definitely are times that we're guilty of coming off with maybe it comes out the wrong way, or it does come off as elitist. Ultimately, though, is I want everyone to enjoy deer hunting and have an experience that is absolutely awesome, because that's why we all do it. That's why we all love it. That's why we went to school, right? Was because, like, at the end of the day, that's what got us excited. That's what drove us, and it still does on a daily basis, is that deer hunting is awesome. It should be awesome for people who are currently hunting. It should be awesome for people who want to start hunting, or the next generation of hunters. And we don't see that. And maybe what we're saying,
it's not awesome for a lot of people right now.
Yeah, well, and maybe what we're saying right now makes people uncomfortable, because they're like, I don't see that. Why are you saying it's bad? Like, I had a great season. I did this. You might have. I'm looking down the road. I'm looking down several seasons ahead, and I don't see it being that great for you. If it is going to be great for you, it's because you have a lot of money and you can do whatever you want to insulate yourself and to protect yourself from what's coming down the pike. If you're the average guy, this is not a knock to you, you just can't see far enough of what's coming to you, and it isn't good. You will be on the outside looking in. You will not have a great experience. You'll be the guy on the edge who says, I don't even know if I want to continue to hunt because this is so bad.
Yeah.
And so I don't like that. I don't like it for new hunters who come in and have a bad experience and then they leave because they're like, wow, hunting sucks. Well, it's like, no, you just never got to experience what it could be. So those are the things that we are really passionate about for the last 5 years with this podcast. People always take it out of context because we probably put clickbait out there that takes it out of context. So we're guilty. But ultimately, the end goal in all of these discussions with any state, even if we don't even hunt it that often, it's like we just want people to have a great deer hunting experience. I personally, as a biologist, really want to avoid devaluing does. I'm not saying that I get as fired up when I kill a doe as I do a big buck, but I for sure appreciate it. My family consumes it. We eat lots of venison. The pathway of where doe value is going is not good for hunting at all. And if we become just a trophy hunting society, we're screwed at that point. So,
yeah. Absolutely we are. And that we haven't even mentioned it yet. And we probably shouldn't because we don't have that much time left. I got to go pick up kids from school. But what at some point, if we turn to that trophy hunting scenario, and we really do lose control of these populations, and we don't have hunters to harvest antlerless deer, there will be other levers that get pulled that will be whether you like it or not will get forced upon.
We see it.
Well, that's why I hope that we can get together and whether it's the majority or the adult in the room, we can make those lever pulls before we're forced to make ones that we don't want.
Yeah.
You have a population that's ready and willing. We just have to give them the access to do it, and
Yep.
Yeah.
There's an educated discussion to happen at a higher level, I think, is where it goes.
Yeah.
Just as in any state. So
Yeah.
Anyways, dude.
I think that I think things like this can help to organize some of those thoughts.
I agree. It's a starting point. It's an open discussion.
Yeah, because that is agencies, and they like to follow the will of their constituents.
Yep.
And should that will move the direction that we think should move forward, then things will likely move that way.
Clint, we'll offer, not like you have to get it for us, but if there was a meeting that could be, arranged with Kendra and whoever else that you felt would be advantageous, we'll drive out like tomorrow. So
there you go.
All right.
Well, dude, we appreciate you coming on, man. It was great conversation. Congratulations on the new role. We support you as always. Like we're here, dude. And we want the best, best for you and for the state and for the deer hunters. And I mean, that's our goal at the end of the day. But obviously, if you ever need anything from us, you can holler. And I think Tonk is probably smiling in his retirement, knowing that, the herd is in good hands.
I hope so. I know he probably misses.
I know
it
he
to
does.
A degree,
he'll
deny
it.
That was part of his life for so long.
I know.
On the other side of the meeting coin, on what you and Tonk can come and sit here. We won't turn the mics on, and we'll just drink bourbon and bullshit.
Yeah, that's where everybody wants to be a fly on the wall for that. or we come down. Are you in Athens?
No, I'm in Columbus.
Oh, you're in Columbus.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe at some point, if we go out for like the Deer Expo or something, we'll cross paths, get a lunch or something like that.
That'd be awesome.
The HUNTR Podcast is brought to you by Beast Broadhead.
Dude, Beast Broadheads. Man, we've been advocating for and shooting expandable, especially big expandable broadheads for years and years now. And it just seems like they just keep making them better and better. And ultimately, with the relationship we've forged with the Bowmars this past year, we're just super excited to be shooting the Beast broadheads this year.
I mean, this broadhead it's the world's sharpest expandable broadhead out there. It has best penetration, and it's got bone avoiding technology. Ultimately, we want to create the most trauma possible on a deer when we release an arrow. The Beast Broadhead does that for us every time.
So right now you can use code HUNTR, HUNTR, for a discount on anything on the Beast website. So definitely go check out beastbroadheads.com.
Long one. Not the longest, but a long one.
Yeah.
As expected. I'm like, Ohio deer biologist. Everybody's like, okay, corn piles, crossbows, lots of talk.
I did want to just like spring it on them.
No, I thought it transitioned well. I love that they do the survey stuff. I know that they're very adamant about that. I think they know that it's fairly inaccurate because of the lack of resident landowners in the survey.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, you're surveying resident deer hunters who don't own land is effectively what that survey goes out to.
Resident hunters.
Or resident hunters who don't own land.
Yeah.
That's who it goes.
That's a bulk of the license holders
that we don't.
Yeah, no, it's a bulk. Mm-hmm. What was the 60,000 number?
That was just approximate of like if 28%.
Yeah, so there you go.
Killed.
So it's a bulk.
Well, but that's 28% of people who killed deer were landowners. And honestly, dude, how many people who don't buy licenses who own land all kill a deer, but then don't check it in? A lot.
I don't think it's as high as you think.
Oh,
okay. There's a number there.
Maybe I'm off, but yeah. I would assume that I would think that there's more people that own land as residents of Ohio who are hunters than who don't own land and are resident hunters of Ohio.
I don't think so.
Because it includes their family and stuff, right? Like, technically, if you lived with your mom and dad, like, you wouldn't have to buy a tag, right?
That's right.
I think that's a big number. And think how many Amish families are out there.
Uh-huh.
They don't buy tags.
Yes. So maybe we're agreeing. There's more resident, non-land owning hunters than there are landowner hunters.
No, we're not agreeing there.
You think there's more resident landowning?
That's why I'm saying, like, think of...
No, because the examples you just named would be me and family members of Amish people. Those are non-landowners.
Well, but you don't have to buy a tag then. If you live with mom and dad,
I see what you're saying.
You don't have to buy a tag. Same.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so that's where I'm thinking it.
And I guess technically that would be the extension of, so family members of. There is a line that's drawn there somewhere.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe it's equal, or maybe it's slightly less. I think it's a big number though. It's bigger than 66,000.
Okay,
that'd be my guess.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless, it's like we were just kind of talking about it there. There's a wheel to grease, in a momentum to build on, and I'm not saying that everything that we talked about is wrong. People yell at us for sure. They always do. But there definitely are some things there that we foresee coming that if we get to that point will not be good for the majority of hunters in Ohio.
Yeah.
Thus, then, we need to make some changes or do some things now before we get there. People might not like those changes. People may not even know, including ourselves, what those changes will do. If you ban baiting or you ban cameras or I don't know, whatever you do. If you do something, which is I think what we're asking for, I don't know what it'll do in 3 years.
Just some acknowledgement that we're like, and not that I was like frustrated with them, but like to hear something like we're doing great, we're doing better than we ever have been kind of thing. I'm like,
statistically, maybe.
I'm like, who are you talking to? Like, because everybody, I've said it before, like, dude, I don't know anybody that is happy with like the state of things in Ohio. Like, it's,
yeah, but you're not talking to the right crowd. That's
I'm talking to a lot of people.
Not the right crowd.
Okay,
the
average
guy is probably killing bigger deer than he ever has in the state. He's probably more efficient than he's ever been, and he's probably happy. What he doesn't see is what's coming in 4, 5, 6 years, which is his demise as a deer hunter.
Right.
Because he's going to get fenced off, because there will be no deer on his 2 acres, corn pile or not. He's fenced off. He's basically in a high fence in 2 acres.
And I just can't. I mean, it's a point of no return. Like,
I know
fences don't come down.
They do not.
Crossbows don't come out of the archer season in most cases. You know what I mean? It's like, so you got to see some of that coming and like try to.
They won't. And the problem is, and I've beat my head against this with as many high ups that'll listen, is that they don't care either. They'll just, if deer hunting goes away tomorrow, all right, they'll go watch football or they'll go fish.
You kind of heard him say it at the end there. It would be easier for them to just kill the deer by other means. Like,
I know it will be, and they will.
Yeah, they're like, that'd be easier than managing all these hunter dynamics.
The Farm Bureau will figure out how to kill the deer. They don't need us. They don't care about us.
No. Just poison them or something.
They just want them dead. Yeah, I think they already are doing it. They're just like, hey, make them sterile.
Yeah.
They won't ever rebound in population. I wouldn't put it past them that shit's happening right now.
For sure.
In the wild in big agricultural areas. The average hunter, unfortunately, also doesn't care. They'll just go fish, or they'll go kill a rabbit or squirrels or whatever. They
want to scream on an Instagram comment section, but that's like as far as it goes. It's like,
and it's because they don't understand, and I can't blame them. They shouldn't. They're this level guy. They don't need to be thinking about, well, what's better, because they don't care. They don't care what happens at the end of the day. 10 years from now, if there's still deer to hunt, absolutely, they want to hunt them. But if they have to do something to maintain that there are deer to hunt in 10 years, forget about it.
Right.
Ain't happening.
Right. No, it's like not to their discredit either. Like, they're busy. They got families. They got jobs. They got stuff to do. Like, I get it, but like,
deer hunting is just another thing in life.
Yeah.
It's just another thing they do. They blow the dust off the gun. They take the crossbow out. They kill a doe. Maybe they eat it. I hope they do.
Yeah.
Maybe they enjoy it, but it's not a critical part of life.
And dude, those are the most important people. Like, that's who we're fighting for. That's who I'm trying to protect.
They are the bulk hunters in the community that we need.
Yeah.
And so I'm okay to do heavy lifting for them.
Sure.
I'm okay to make changes or fight the battle to make sure in 10 years that they wake up one day and they don't even know the difference between 2025 and 2035. They're just like, yeah, there's deer out there, and I just go and kill them on my 2 acres. Like, what's the matter?
Yeah.
I'm okay being that guy, but if I don't have the support in the numbers, or I don't have the support from them to make a decision that they in the short term may not appreciate or support, then I can't win the battle in the next 5 to 10 years. I say I'm not just whatever.
Yeah, that position.
So, it's common. We're in common political environment. It's whatever the bulk of the constituents want, the higher ups go with. The bulk of the constituents want crossbows and archery. That's what we get.
Well, see, and that's where they're asking the wrong questions. And I guess I kind of wish this would have come up. It's
okay.
like, so if, what they're asking is, however he worded it, like if CWD was a thing, like, would you rather get rid of baiting or boom, boom, boom? Okay. That's a very like literal question. And it's reactionary. Like, it's like, it's a,
Yep.
You're going to have people fire back and say, well, no, I don't want to get rid of baiting.
Yep.
Yeah. But maybe the question you should be asking them is like, are you satisfied? Like, are you satisfied with the amount of access that is available? Like, are you satisfied
The answer is no.
with the age class of, or however you would, word that, the size of the, the deer, and then take it to somebody who knows what the frick they're talking about or how to manage a deer herd to say, okay, so here's how we do this. And it needs to align with other stakeholder interests as well.
Which is primarily ag or insurance, and ag doesn't want deer. They don't want deer damage. Yeah. Right. Frankly, if there's a bounty on anything, it needs to be on coons because that's what's killing corn.
Right.
And insurance companies, I get it. I just watched a deer get hit yesterday 3 times.
I get it.
On the same highway.
I get it.
So populations need to be controlled, which is where we are failing as hunters.
Yeah.
So
I would almost say we're not being allowed to succeed. Well, but yeah, both. You know what I mean? I do think that there is a population of people who would want to shoot more deer or would shoot more deer that just, either they can't because they don't have the access to it or they are distracted by the selectivity of it that's been offered to them by the technology.
Or the processing barrier, which I love the prison system.
Yep,
I think that's a freaking phenomenal idea. If they can figure that to process it and to get it into needy families, awesome. Freaking amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put knives in prisoners' hands. We'll go with it.
Mine's got a razor blade in it.
Yeah, we'll go with it. Is this a crackback?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with it for a while. Could be a couple shivings, happening inside there, but it'll be all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's I hope we hammered it there, and most people fall off by now, anyways. But I hope we hammered it enough. There is like our goal is just to figure out how to make deer hunting as an experience great for as many people as possible in the hunting community. Will that be 100%? It's impossible. Can it be 80? Yes, I think it can. Because if you bucket them up, it's like, hey, I want to just see deer. Great, we can help you. I want to kill a buck. Okay, we can help you there. I want to kill a big buck. Great, I can help you there. Like, there is a possibility of a management system and a set of rules that can accomplish those goals, which will suffice for 80% of the deer hunters. And if you get an 80% approval rating, you win the presidency. Game over.
I hesitate to keep making the comparison because, like, not every state needs to be Iowa. I'm not saying that, but, like...
Can't be, but...
Dude, look at a state where everybody's happy. Like, the residents all have access. They're doing a great job managing the populations. Like, everybody at every level of that state is like, I think...
It's kind of funny because the residents of Ohio are taking parts of that and saying, we want non-residents that draw, like Iowa. Okay? Well, we have to get rid of baiting, too, because they don't have baiting.
And crossbows.
We have to get rid of crossbows. Whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so you can't just pick and choose, like, the things you want. It's like, it works because it is. And to Clint's point, there is an element of like it's hard to backtrack on some of those things like that.
Oh, damn near impossible.
Yeah, some issues are, I mean, not that they're irreparable, but that, you reach a point where it is
but
what it is.
You don't have to backtrack on it as much as you have to keep up with it, which is corn pals were not a problem until trail cameras. Trail cameras evolved, and now that's a problem. Crossbows weren't an issue. Crossbows have evolved. They can shoot 100 yards.
Yeah.
And that's now an issue in conjunction with everything else. So you don't have to remove them, but you surely have to adapt as they adapted. And the failure was nobody adapted to those technologies and those tools adapting.
There's been none. No adaptation.
I know. And that in there lies the issue of where we're at. We wouldn't be needing to remove baiting or remove cameras or remove crossbows had we adapted to them evolving. And we didn't.
And the problem is,
we failed.
We'll wake up and it'll be too late, and we'll be the ones, and everybody we just talked about would be the ones that are shit out of luck. Because guess what? They're just going to poison all the deer. They'll take care of it that way. You know what I mean? There won't be.
Yeah. What's the end result? I'll keep my 200 acres. I'll fence it, and I'll have deer to hunt because they won't be poisoned, and I'll just hunt a 200 acre high. Because I guess I will. Like, I'm not going to not deer hunt. That's a priority for my family.
Yeah.
So I'm going to fence myself off and have a 200 acre high fence that I kill deer. Like, that sucks.
Leave. You go
yeah, or you leave. Yes. So, yeah, I mean, those are the things that are staring us in the face. And I guess I haven't thought about it, but interesting that I think the deer biologist would be in tune if fences were in Ohio yet. But, boy, it's coming.
Yeah, how could you not
if
know
it's
that?
not If it's not there now, I guess I was naive to it in Illinois until recently. Until all of a sudden I'm like, what do you mean? And then here they all are. It's coming. Like, I mean, a freight train.
I know.
It will be happening soon. And that, like, to your point, fences then don't come down. Once they go up, they don't come down.
It's harder to take down than it is to put up.
That is a massive thing that we should look at what we have and what we can fix now before we get there. And we're on the damn brink. If not, it's already happening, and you just have to stop it. You have to make people not want to do it. The richest people will do it first.
Yep.
And then it'll trickle down to the guy who doesn't really want to do it, but if he can fence 200 yards off and that cuts off his neighbor, he'll do it. We have to stop it before it gets there. Rich people, too late. They'll just do it because they can do it.
It's just, I mean, I hate even the rich people. I mean, dude, it's just like you can see the motivation. Like, it's right there. Like, dude, I'm a perfect example. Like, I'm not a rich guy, but like we have some land there, and there's like, so what are you supposed to do? Like, from a deer hunting standpoint, like,
I know.
Do you continue to allow your property to be
because I mean, we're at the point of saying you guys should sell some stuff and get out of there.
Right. So, and I would rather do that than put fences up, just because that's my stance on it.
Right.
But that sucks.
But that's where you're at.
That's awful. Well, dude, and honestly, even the fact that we've bought farms in Illinois, like, that's out of response to the fact that we can't find good, places to put that money in Ohio,
Yeah, I would rather be.
Think I want to drive 10 hours to Illinois?
No. I mean, it's not the sole reason, but like, I'm going to end up selling my Ohio place simply because of the drive and all of the other things we talked about. Like, they're definitely getting killed on corn piles and killed across. There's all these things I can't control that, I can still grow good deer there, but like, I can also probably do that out my back door in Pennsylvania without bait piles.
Yeah. So
I'll just choose to be closer and spend more time on it than be further. And, it is what it is.
Yeah. It's hard to like let it go. 'Cause it's like, man, you just see the potential. It's like, it could be so great. Like, Ohio has so many good things going for it.
It's on the cusp. It's right there. We're doing it. We are, to his point, we are killing better deer than we ever have in Ohio. Is at the cusp to being, I think, better than any other state out there.
I just don't think, like, it's so close, but yet nobody can wrap their mind around how amazing it could be.
Mm-hmm. It's fear. Like I said, it's fear of if I make the mistake, it's going to ruin hunting in Ohio. It's already on its way, in my opinion. We're already there.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
It's coming like a freight train, and you can't stop it. So if you make a change, I don't think I've said it on a couple different, not even hunting related. I'm just like, can't make it any worse, and that's kind of where we're at now. I'm like, I don't know if you can make it any worse than the direction we're going right now. But just the things that we talked about, like, are people going to leave? They told us in the survey they're not.
No.
Are they going to kill less deer? We've seen it in the disease management areas. They will not. So I don't know what else you need. Besides, you're going to make people angry and they're going to yell at you. Fucking do it every day anyways, dude.
Yeah, they're going to do it anyways.
They're going to do it anyways.
Yeah, that's right.
So, anyways, we appreciate Clint coming on. We're passionate about this for any state. Obviously, Ohio, but I want people to take this and apply it to your state. There's something in this discussion that applies to your state that you should be angry about, that should be wanting to get approved. You want to get moved forward. You want to get changed. You got to find the right tree to bark up. That's point number one. understand who the recommendation makers are and who are the decision makers. That's the biggest thing. So we'll keep working on it. We'll keep working on your behalf. Love it, hate it, great opinions. Tell us, share it with us. We're happy to hear and listen. And we will catch you on the next one.
Later.
Take me on down the river where the guilt can't find.